Today was like any other in Jura City, one of the major cities in the duchy and the homeland of the noble Burton family. The sun was hanging in the sky, the river was flowing endlessly near the great city walls, and of course, the city market was beaming with life as always. Between the screams of sellers and the stampede of buyers, discussions on various topics were everywhere, but one topic in particular was of interest to many. What will happen in the tournament that Duke Alton will hold this year? Hey! Who do you think will win the youth tournament this year? Is there anyone else? Definitely Robin Burton. Hey, you're right. The Burton family has recently gained a true genius. Although there are many geniuses in his generation, he is simply overpowered. Haha, man. Even his family members are pressured because of him. The Burtons. I really envy them. Although things haven't gone very well over the last millennium for them, I think this young man might be able to change their destiny. Conversations like this can be heard all around the town. Even though the competition itself is somewhat symbolic, it was everything in the eyes of the youngsters. Meanwhile, two smiling teenagers were passing through the main road of the market, hearing every word around them. Finally, one of them spoke with a weird smile. You hear that, Robin? Looks like your win was decided before you even walk into the ring. Although he's been Robin's friend since they started learning how to speak, just walking next to him now has become a psychological pressure on him. It is worth noting that Robin did not fight once in his lifetime. He was always 2 or 3 levels above his age group, which made his peers feel intimidated just approaching him, and the older ones didn't dare approach him for fear that the Burton family would consider them bullying their number 1 genius and get themselves killed. Perhaps someone other than Robin would have taken the initiative to challenge those older than him like it is told in the stories about saints and sages in their youth, but he never did that. He preferred to stay put in his little house. Alone for almost his entire life, no one knows what he is doing or what he is thinking, but he is still the number 1 genius in terms of training speed at least, and this is an indisputable fact. Robin laughed. I don't even want to join this tournament. Hey Billy, why don't you join? I think you have a good chance. Me? Stop kidding me, please. You are the only genius of our generation who has reached the 10th level of Energy Foundation. Everyone in the Duchy of Alton has heard of you. The next strongest person that was born in the same year as you is at the 7th layer. And then there is me. I'm hardly at the 5th. I'm afraid I will be beaten till my mother doesn't recognize me if I go there, he said disappointedly and shook his head. Robin looked at him with an eyebrow raised. So what? Just go and do your best. Isn't that what matters? I'm really not going. There's nothing interesting about it. Secondly, the rewards are not even worth it. Billy looked like he was about to cry. 10 high-quality slaves and 1,000 gold coins aren't enough for your majesty anymore. Haha, what do I do with slaves? I'm still young and I don't need them. And even if it was 10,000 coins I wouldn't care. What do I do with them? I'd rather spend my time training than that nonsense. Billy paused for a moment and turned to Robin, who got a few steps ahead of him, before smiling, shaking his head, and quickly following him. Wherever he went, Robin was always the center of attention. How could he not be? The number 1 genius in the vast duchy territory? No, even at the level of the entire Black Sun Kingdom, he would definitely be one of the competitors for the title of the best. This is in addition to his strong build, his sharp and proud features, and his strong presence that he has been acquired over time. All this made him an idol for many boys and the husband in many girls' dreams. As soon as the hour Robin had set for himself to relax has ended, he stood still in the middle of the street and looked around slowly as if he wants to carefully save everything he sees into his memory, only thinking who knows, this might be the last time I see this sight. He then took Billy and headed toward Burton's land. The land is an area of about a few square kilometers filled with many houses, warehouses, other different buildings and surrounded with high walls. It is technically a city within the city, but this is understandable. The family has a history of 6,000 years with the number of those who bear the surname Burton is a few tens of thousands. Then inner city only contained the core members of the family. As for the rest, they were living at the outer area of the city, and throw all the other lands that are subjected to the Burton rule. If adding the count of their slaves, the strong mercenary army and the other commoners and weaker families that pledged allegiance to the Burtons and lived in their lands, then the total number of citizens under the Burtons can only be counted in millions. When the guards saw Robin, the hero in their eyes, coming to the inner city, they quickly left what was in their hands and lined up on both sides of the gate to salute him with big smiles hanging on their faces. This young man in front of them is their pride. Although they are mere slaves of the Burton family, they at least can boast of serving the one who has shined all over the lands of the duchy. Just as Robin took a few steps inside the inner city, a wild voice sounded, "Ha ha! Robin, there you are. I've been looking you for since I heard you got out of that little house of yours. Where have you been?" Robin turned, seeing a middle-aged heading his way. It was his father. If there is one person who has benefited from Robin's skyrocketing rise, it is undoubtedly this man. Before, he was a distant relative of the main branch of the Burton family, just one of the tens of thousands. But after the emergence of his son, his position in the family rose and became respected by everyone, and most importantly, his allowance had increased dramatically. However, this allowance was not used in the appropriate manner that everyone was waiting for, like supporting his son, for example. But he was using it to marry again. Yes, Robin's father's mission in life since discovering his son's talent has been to marry or buy new female slaves, on the pretext that he wants to support the family with another genius of his strong line. Although the rest of his peers and elders looked down on him, they supported him in his decision. Who knows? That lucky moron might do it again and bring them another genius. Unfortunately, his attempts were always unsuccessful. In the span of 5 years, he had 12 half-brothers and sisters for Robin, and none of them showed any unique talent. But of course this did not prevent him from continuing his heroic attempts. Although polygamy and owning sex slaves is a common thing, Robin didn't like the idea that his father neglected his mother because of him, and certainly did not like the idea that he considered him a thing that he made and could repeat at any time. "Good morning, father," replied Robin, still smiling. "I just finished my seclusion today and decided to go out for a little walk. Do you need me for something?" His father came closer, smelling of wine. "Hee, I just wanted to ask you about your preparations for the competition. You'll be there, right?" "No," Robin said, still smiling like ever. "WH-. Is this a joke? Damn it. I knew you'd say something like that again. But the prize is 1,000 gold coins and 10 high-quality slaves. Don't you know the value of the money? Even my monthly allowance doesn't exceed 50 gold coins." Robin's father shrieked. His face flushed red as if he is about to pounce on his son. "I don't need money. As long as I'm under 16, the family would provide me with the training resources and basics I need. Why should I waste my time on such a petty thing without any motive? I'm not that free. If you don't need the money, then win it and give it to me. Your old man's expenses have been increasing lately, you know, hee. Sorry, father. I'm going to start studying the heavenly laws, and I can't waste my time on anything else." He finally reached the limits of his patience and raised his hands, ready to hit his son's face. "You disobey your father again, you vile thing. Robin, the patriarch wants to meet you." What's going on here?" a voice suddenly echoed. When they turned, they found a middle-aged man with a thick beard coming towards them. "This." Peter lowered his hand. Even in his new high standing, he can't even look in the eyes of the truly powerful once in the family. "Nothing, uncle. I'll go to the patriarch right away." "Excuse me, father." Robin said it while a smile was still stuck on his face, then headed towards the patriarch's manor, leaving his partly drunk father behind grinding his teeth. This wasn't their first and probably wouldn't be their last encounter that ends like this. Well, he should be grateful that this time he didn't get the chance to actually strike him. Throughout his way, he did not stop nodding his head to everyone he saw. They all greeted him in different ways. The adults nodded with a smile, and the young men greeted him loudly, and some of the weaker ones were even bowing in front of him. "Hello, Uncle Murphy. I heard that the patriarch wants me?" Robin said to the guard after he reached a huge building. "Oh, Sir Robin, please stop calling me uncle. I'm just a guard here, and yeah, Master is waiting for you inside. Come in." Murphy laughed and led Robin inside. Robin walked into the office and looked around. The place was still majestic in his eyes as ever, decorated with beast heads and expensive antiques. In the middle of the room, a smiling old man sitting behind a disc looking at him. "Welcome, Robin. Getting to see you is as hard as ever. Sorry about that. I've been in a retreat lately to break through to level 10. I couldn't be disturbed," Robin said while scratching his head. "Haha. Forget it. I'm glad you reached the 10th level. Come on, sit down. I think we need to talk. Patriarch, if you intend to convince me about participating in the competition, then please don't. You would only waste your time. The competition? Do you even need to participate? Even if you don't go, who would dare say he's better than you? If you wanted the 1,000 gold coins and the 10 slaves, I'd give them to you now. Thank you. The normal allowance for my age group is more than enough for me," Robin said with a slight smile as he sat in front of the patriarch. "Hey, you're always like this. Your monthly allowance is a little higher than that of a mercenary. Why don't you let me raise it for you? You've reached your current level almost without any support. I shudder every time I think of your accomplishments if you'd let me pour all the family's resources into your training. But that will forever owe me to the family, right? I don't like being in debt." The patriarch went silent and looked at Robin for a long time, not knowing what to say. This is not the first time such a conversation took place. He always tried to start the topic again. Perhaps the outcome would be different. Technically, they did not support him with anything other than the simple monthly allowance and the normal techniques they give to the slaves. No, rather it can be said that Robin has already paid his debts with a large surplus, just by his presence and fame, which contributed largely to facilitating the family business. The patriarch always wanted to find an opportunity to shower him with money and resources, but this was rejected by Robin himself, which made him go crazy thinking about it. Why was he doing this? Is it because Robin's idiot father made him lose the sense of belonging? Or because of his pride as a genius? Or both? What Robin showed was a pure talent. He did not have a special teacher or found a super technique, but was born with a soul much stronger than average with which he could discover the right track more quickly. As you wish, I generally invited you here to ask you about your future path. After reaching the 10th level, you will have to choose a minor heavenly law to build your pillars for the next levels. Have you chosen yet? No. What do you mean by a no? Energy cultivators choose their path from the 5th level and start simple preparations before reaching the 10th level. What takes you so long? Whatever. What minor law do you want? I will get you its cultivation technique. I don't want a minor law cultivation technique, said Robin hesitantly. What do you mean? You don't like the ones we have? Then which minor law do you want? I will see if I can get it for you. Want to discover one of my own. Robin took a deep breath and said, "That's it." The moment he was most afraid of has finally came. The family head opened his eyes completely and shouted, "What did you say?" Discovering laws and creating its cultivation techniques is the task of the sages. Even I don't have the qualifications to discover laws yet. The patriarch was feeling like he wanted to strangle Robin to death when he heard his words. The world really has many heavenly paths to take, and every heavenly path consists of one major law and countless minor ones. For example, the path of water has one major law which is called the same as the path water, while those like dew, spring flow, and raindrops are considered minor heavenly laws, and they are basically countless. According to the progress of the research on a heavenly law and how complete the technique of controlling it, the strength of the fighter using this heavenly law would increase or decrease. Indeed, there are many undiscovered laws, but this is the task of the sages standing on top of the world. They have the knowledge, power, and time needed to contemplate the world, identify the laws, research it fully, then pass the technique of using them to their followers and the forces they established. For example, the current king of the Black Sun Kingdom took dozens of years to discover two minor laws: fire shards, reflected beam. But a child who has not yet established his pillars wants to discover a law of his own? This is never heard of. And if he heard it from someone he would tell him to scram. This is simply impossible. Stop your nonsense. Don't let your thoughts lead you stray. I am aware of the consequences of what I have said, Patriarch, but it is already decided. You simply want to throw everything you have in the garbage? Why? Because I hate this damn life. What's so good about being the strongest? No, rather it is better to say I am the strongest of the younger generation here. In the rest of the 9 duchies of the Black Sun Kingdom or the other 7 kingdoms, and for empires there are many geniuses like me and even better. Every year geniuses are born and follow the same prescribed path. What will change in the world in this way? There is no reason for me to train and get stronger, to hit this and compete with that. All I gained from my genius is a life without friends or loved ones. Those of my age hate me and my elders are trying all kinds of ways to exploit me. And for what? What happens when I grow up on the same steps outlined? Be like my father and become a stallion to have talented children and make them repeat the cycle? Or perhaps become like you and run some inherited business? No, that's not what I want. That's not what I was born for. Robin exploded, surprising the patriarch. The patriarch didn't know what to say. Robin was always the silent smiling type. He got the job done without a word and progressed in his training without being noticed. He's simply the perfect member of any family. Has he been a volcano ready to erupt all these years? Patriarch Brian went silent for a while and said, "No, you don't realize the consequences of your decision. Discovering a minor law takes a sage about 20 years, and you can't advance to level 11 without choosing a law to build your pillars with. You say you want to stop your training for dozens of years? This is a crime against yourself, against your mother, against your whole family," the patriarch shouted, scaring the guards outside. The Burton family wasn't huge in the kingdom of the Black Sun, but they weren't small either. During their 6,000-year heritage, the family's ancestors managed to control enough lands and were awarded the title of Marquess twice, but after each time a bad generation of heirs would come and lose their lands, whether by war or by gambling and selling until the total size returned to enough to form an earldom. As it is now, the patriarch of the Burton family, also known as Earl Brian. All the family members, from the youngest to the eldest, were wishing to reclaim their lands and take the title of a Marquess for the 3rd time in their history. This alone would be a great achievement that they could die in peace after. The patriarch has been holding high hopes for Robin to become a high-level saint or even a sage someday, and lead them to their goal. But he never thought it would come to this. Or maybe he did, as Robin refused to fight meaningless fights all his life. He just refused to see the truth. Robin went silent for a moment in front of the patriarch, shouting, then said, "I've thought about all of this. My mother is still one of my father's official wives and will not be harmed as long as she is within the family land. As for the family, I will compensate you for my absence after I achieve my goal. As for me, I know that wasting 20 years of my life would make me an ordinary person when I reach level 11, but that is my choice and I will not regret it." Ha? Ha ha ha. 20 years? That's how long it takes the sages to discover the most average of minor laws. You, a 10th level kid, think you'll take a mere 20 years? I know you were born with a soul that is stronger than the average and your comprehension rate is high, but to put yourself on the same level as the sages? Robin, you have disappointed me. I thought you were smarter than this. Patriarch Brian laughed angrily and hit his desk hard. 20 years to discover and research a law to the point of controlling it? Assuming that his strong spirit for some reason gave him this ability and he really did it, what next? He will be at least 34 years old. At level 11 with his pillars are made up of a minor law that has not been fully studied yet. This is simply trash. The more the head of the family thinks about the situation, the angrier he becomes. I will compensate you for my absence after I achieve my goal. What compensation is he talking about? What will a middle-aged trash do? What will benefit the family then? Put him to guard the gates? Robin, I know the family doesn't own you, and by the rules, you can do whatever you want as long as you return to defend the family if we're under attack. But I beg you to reconsider. Why don't you go sit with your mom for a while and talk about it? A real beggary look appeared on Patriarch for a moment. Robin was surprised by those words greatly. This is not just an old man but a venerable who holds the position of an earl. He is a person who rules a huge area of land, mines, and cities. Certainly, his words were not easy. All right, I'll think more about it. If there's nothing else, then excuse me. I leave you to do more important things, said Robin, after recovering the smile that had been on his face all his life. When the patriarch saw him behaving like this, He decided not to pressure him anymore. Go. I hope you come back to your senses before it's too late. Go. In a large backyard, Robin sat next to his mother and told her about his argument with the patriarch. This was the only person he could talk to freely, knowing that she doesn't hate him or want to use him. My son, tell your mother directly. Is there a chance of changing your mind? No. Robin looked sad and shook his head. His mother did not know what to say. She suffered a lot before Robin was born because of his drunk father, who continued to beat her for no reason, and she suffered even more after his birth because his father held more money in his hand and his expenses on alcohol and women had only increased. But at least now she had a hope. To see Robin becoming more famous and respected, maybe one day become the patriarch of the Burtons. Then do what you see right. Your mother will support you in whatever you choose. Finally, a heartily smile appeared on her face as tears rolled and pulled her son into her lap. She knew her son very well, the competitions, the family leadership, etc. He didn't care about that. Robin was so smart that he couldn't find anyone to understand him. Even she couldn't understand what he really wanted. Maybe Robin's decision isn't so bad. At least her son will get away from all the pressure he is facing, start a family of his own somewhere else and live a happy little life. Or at least that's what she was hoping for. Robin did not shed a single tear while hugging his mother. They did not have a close relationship to begin with. Since his strong soul appeared at the age of 3, he was taken to intensive training and tests and then contentious retreats, which made him live a dry, emotionless life. Everyone of his age wished for his talent and hated him because of it, but he had moments when he wished he was a normal person. After about 20 more minutes of talking with his mother, Robin returned to his own house and sat in a meditative position in front of the small pond in his yard, thinking, what kind of law should I choose? Search in the minor laws of the path of fire? No, this was done by many before me. The path of water? Wind? There are many of those too. If I am going to give up on everything for a new law, the path itself must be new. After thinking to this point, his mind went blank for a while. A new path? Even a minor heavenly law of the already known paths takes the sages decades to complete researching. The history of the known world dates back to about 50,000 years. During this period, the sages had discovered about 20 heavenly paths, of which they only completed the control techniques of 4 major heavenly laws and less than 1,000 minor heavenly laws. Yes, discovering the potential of a path doesn't necessarily mean you can control it. Like the heavenly path of space, every sage knows of its existence, but none has ever succeeded in completing the research on the major, or even a minor heavenly law in this path. This is what others thinking is true. Am I really crazy? I'm just a teenager. How am I going to figure out a whole path? No, how did I even dare to think about it? It is worth noting that each of the ancient sages who discovered a major law became an emperor of his time, ruling everything under the heaven without a competitor, even though they could only use the first order of the law, and to a minimal extent. That's because the only way to use a law freely is to build the 11 LVL pillars with it. Not a single one has ever discovered a heavenly path or even completed the technique of major heavenly law when he was as old or as weak as Robin. Rather, they all started after reaching high cultivation levels and took them hundreds or even thousands of years to research them. Robin was in awe when he thought about it, but he quickly calmed down. Wasn't that what he wanted from the start? The boredom of walking the paths designed for him was killing his very soul. What he wanted was a chance to be a legend and leave his name in history, or just die in a dark alley and get over with it. He refused for his life story to be written on a gray page. He refused to live between petty competitions between the young generation and a petty struggle for land and business. Success or death. All or nothing. Staying here and thinking will do me no good. I have to find a suitable environment to meditate on the heavenly laws to find what I am looking for. Though Robin, and so he made the decision, or it should be said that he confirmed it. This decision has been in his head since he was 8, the year in which he altered the family energy cultivation technique a little to draw more energy within less time. This was a cultivation technique passed down through thousands of years. Since that moment, he spent more time altering the cultivation technique than actually cultivating. This became the only joy in his life. The feeling of creating something new was much more satisfying than what his elders were telling him to do. As for his miraculous cultivation speed, it was just a side effect of the altered cultivation technique. But he didn't tell anyone about it. As his father was useless, he had no one to speak up for him. He feared that he would be used as a machine for the rest of his life. Yes, he loved the research process, but he wanted to do it his way. Not some old man telling him to modify this and create something for that. His pride would never allow it. He would never allow it. The first thing he did the next morning was to go to his mother and give her a last farewell hug. Then go to his only friend Billy and asked him to convey to the patriarch that Robin has made up his mind and is leaving today for training. Although Billy did not understand, he agreed to deliver the message. He did not realize that this simple farewell would last for a very long time. On a side road next to a small village, about 100 kilometers away from the city of Jura, there is a good-looking teenager with a large bag on his back, walking with faltering steps. Steps towards achieving unparalleled success, or death. With every step he takes forward, Robin revises his decisions and wonders if what he's doing is the right thing. Every now and then he would stop for a moment till he finds enough courage to keep his legs moving again, trying his best not to look back. It was a difficult decision. Maybe if he had one true friend or even a good parental relationship, he wouldn't have chosen this path. But this is his destiny and cannot be changed. He can only control what comes next. And what came next for him was a few dozen years of meditation. For any ordinary young man, this is the definition of the word torment. He found nothing to drive him forward except his firm will, and that nothing was waiting for him even if he returned. His destination of choice was the Outer Beast Zone, a desolate place about 300 kilometers away from Jura City, filled with mountains, swamps, and forests. It wasn't overly vast, but it was a forbidden area for those below the 6th level. However, it was considerably safe for an energy cultivator at the 10th level. The beasts in it were basically a source of meat for someone of his strength, and the lack of humans in the area made it an ideal place to live secluded for a long time. After a few more days, the outskirts of the Outer Beast region appeared in front of him. After hesitating for a few moments, he resolved his heart, entered it, and began to search for his home for the coming years. He didn't have high standards in this regard, just a hole in any mountain would do. But even this took him a few days until he found a big enough cave in a high land. It is true that the cave was the abode of 2 level 7 grappling bears, but he easily dealt with them and occupied their cave. Robin sat in the depths of the cave in a meditation position, directing his gaze to the entrance, thinking, "What now, Robin? Which path will you search? Maybe the star path? No, how is this any different from the paths of natural elements such as wind and water? And is the even a path?" At his level, Robin can stay in meditation for a few days without needing food or drink, and that's exactly what he did. It was only after 6 days when his stomach started making noise that he finally decided to move. Well, I can't discover paths and change the world on an empty stomach. So he went and took large pieces of the bear meat that he had dried earlier and took it towards the entrance of the cave, made a fire and sat down to roast his first good meal in days. But even while eating, he did not stop thinking for a moment about his next goal. The days passed quickly. Quickly Robin found that he had been in the cave for over a month. It turned out that the vast cave that was accommodating the family of grappling bears was coveted by all the beasts in the area, who had already advanced more than once trying to take the cave for themselves after the scent of the bears had disappeared. But they learned the hard way that the cave had become more elusive than ever before. Robin did not know whether to cry or laugh in such situations. Although he was the one who left the Burton family himself and decided to come here and rely on himself until he reached his goal, he is still the same boy who enjoyed the integrity and peace that Jura City provided for him. Just a month ago, he was enjoying peace in his private room, with no one approaching him except for the servants who put food in front of the door and then left quietly. But now all his visitors are beasts who want to devour him. Except they end up as food too, so the delivery of food to his doorsteps hasn't changed much at this point. After a month had passed, the visits of beasts to his cave decreased significantly, and the time he devoted to meditation doubled. Finally, the effects of his choice of this place began to appear clearly, as it has a constant supply of food and relative calm away from human eyes. However, the calmness and peace he had hoped for did not last long. On the 33rd day of Robin's arrival at the cave, He heard a scream. "ARH! Help!" The sound suggested that it was coming from afar, but it seemed that the owner of that voice was rapidly approaching the cave. "Don't give up, Frankie. No, that thing really ate Fowler. I don't want to get eaten." Robin tried to restrain himself in every way not to go out and see what was going on because, well, it was very clear. There are 2 or 3 males being pursued by a beast. But what does he have to do with that? This is the outer beast zone and there are a lot of warnings before entering it. Whoever enters it must take responsibility, right? Arg! It didn't take more than 2 seconds before Robin twitched and rushed toward the voices. Damn it! It's been a few months since Robin arrived in the outer beast zone. "Thank you, sir. You gave me a new life. I will be forever indebted to you." A few strong-looking men, their bodies full of wounds and blood, bowed towards a young man whose hair had not yet appeared on his face, then turned around and left, leaning on each other. This was the number 9 group that Robin saved since he came to the outer beast zone. After each time he says to himself, "This is the last time," or, "I will not concern myself with anything that happens around me again." Whenever he hears a human voice screaming, it proves that this is impossible. He came to the outer beast zone to distance himself from people and live in seclusion to meditate on the heavenly laws and take steps toward his own glory. But somehow he became the unpaid hero of the region instead. Someday in the morning I in front of a random cave in the outer beast zone. Robin didn't know if today was Saturday or Wednesday. Everything is the same for him now, but at least it was the best time of the day for Robin, the time when he meditated on the heavenly laws around him. And meditating on the heavenly laws was not very difficult. In fact, to say it clearly, it is not difficult to find a specific law to meditate on its details, because everything that happens around can be linked to a law. Scenes of leaves falling, for example, captivate him for a moment while he thinks about what he sees. Can this be attributed to the laws of the path of the wind that carried the leaves and made them sway so lightly, or is it something had to do with the laws of the path of plants because the leaves dried up, and this is what made them weak and carried by the wind? And those small stones rolling from the top of the mountain, can they be attributed to the gravity low or to the paths of wind and water that loosened the soil and caused the stones to move in the first place? Wherever he looks, he finds a possible law to study. But what next? Supposing that he settled on one of the minor laws found in nature and decided to focus on studying it completely, any random minor law from these scattered paths would take him dozens of years to complete a technique for using it. So even after months had passed since his arrival to the cave, he was not hasty in his decision. If he chooses to spend his life in pursuing a law, then at least it has to be the right one. But what really baffled him was that throughout these months of meditation, he could not identify a single undiscovered path. All that he identified were minor laws of paths that already are well known. I know it's hard to comprehend a minor law in any path, but just discovering them is that difficult. Robin's thought and his eyebrows tremble. The previous generation of sages weren't idiots. They already identified all the heavenly paths that can be seen or felt. They know that these entire paths are there, but they can't get in touch with even a minor law in some of those paths, such as the path of space and darkness, for example. Although the existence of these paths cannot be denied and everyone knows that they are around them, all the sages who tried to ponder over them said it was impossible. The current law extraction system relies entirely on meditating on the law and trying to copy its effects through internal energy. But who would meditate on something that has no clear features? For example, Robin now knows that everything around him is stuff that exists within a specific space, but with all these materials and living creatures inside the space, how can space be space anymore? It is already filled with stuff and the word lost its meaning. How is it possible to extract a law for something when you cannot find a pure body for it to look into? Robin frowned a little when thinking about that. Wait, maybe the key to that is, if you come near me, you dirty tiger, I will kill you. Is that a girl's voice? What is a girl doing here? Another scream from afar forced Robin to sigh and shake his head. This wasn't the first time he was about to reach the tip of a thought string, and was interrupted by a cry for help. But he didn't get angry this time either and got up and started moving toward the source of the sound. As usual, he advanced quickly toward the person who was crying out for help, and as usual, he found himself in a good location to prepare an ambush and waited. Only after a few seconds a skinny teenage girl appeared running with all her might. Even with her annoyed features, her beauty was visible even to the blind. Right behind her, a huge 10th-level black tiger was running after her with his salvia splashing everywhere. Robin slightly furrowed his brows upon seeing this sight. A girl of this age shouldn't have enough strength to run away from a 10th-level beast. But he wasted no time in thinking and remained focused on his task. The moment the black tiger approached a certain distance, Robin jumped out of his hiding place and sent a powerful kick to the tiger's back foot, after which he quickly climbed on top of it, and with one punch smashed the back of its head. Those in the Energy Foundation realm, under level 11, couldn't send long-range attacks. Fighting huge-fanged and clawed beasts face-to-face was not wise at all. You! Who told you to save me? Who said I needed saving? Robin looked beside his eyes at the young lady whose features turned from annoyance to anger. But he only smiled and shook his head, then began slashing the front thigh of the black tiger. During the past months, he did not speak to anyone but himself, even the ones whom he saved. He left them with a smile on his face and without saying a word, so as not to build anything personal with those people and so that no one would ask them to accompany him or anything like that. So whether if this girl is grateful or not, it does not matter. Black tiger meat isn't bad either. Oh! The girl hit her foot on the ground when she saw Robin's reaction, then looked up and yelled, "Uncle Brown, you have seen that I didn't ask for help. This is just an external factor. If you mention this in the report, I will be angry at you." The knife in Robin's hand stopped when he heard those words and his eyes opened wide. He didn't dare to breathe loudly at that moment. There's someone else around? How did I not notice it? I know. You brat can continue towards Jura City. We have wasted enough time on the way. Bottom. Sweat began pouring out from Robin's head profusely. Although that person did not show any killing intent towards him, the sound coming from every direction was sufficient to reveal his strength. Even now, after hearing him, he couldn't detect his location. He is not someone whose shoes the current Robin can wipe. If he really interfered with something he shouldn't have and that girl decided he had to die, then that person would. Hey you! I, Mila Bradley, didn't ask for your help. Robin's thoughts were interrupted by a female voice coming from behind. But your intention was good, and at least now Uncle Brown won't step in to save me. Whether I needed it or not, I now owe you one. If you need anything, come find me in Bradley Pearl CIT. Swoosh, swoosh, ba. Ha! Ha! Just after the girl and her guard left, Robin knelt on both hands and let out loud gasps. He had come to save a weak girl being attacked by a beast, but he ended up being at the mercy of a word from that girl. Who there was such an expert with her watching in silence. No wonder her features were showing annoyance rather than terror. Robin rubbed his forehead gently, but he suddenly stopped and looked toward the direction the girl had disappeared in. Wait, Mila Bradley? In Jura, the situation settled faster than he thought. Because he was already living in isolation, his absence hadn't really affected the lives of many. Rather, most of them did not know that he had left until an eccentric young girl came to announce that she was challenging him. But he didn't answer the call. Many called him a coward and a shame to the city, etc. Driving Earl Brian Burton to personally appear and announce that Robin has left the city for an open training period and he does not know when he will return. Maybe he would never return. The news broke like a storm across the city and found its way to the entire Duchy of Alton. Not every day such a genius appears, but this one disappeared just as fast. But even this was only circulated among talented of the younger generation, and soon the name of Robin Burton subsided and disappeared. A mere 10th-level teenager doesn't affect the big picture of a grand duchy inhabited by millions of people. The patriarch tried to search for him, but he hadn't found a trace. Robin didn't tell anyone about his destination, so no one tried to search for him in the outer beast zone. Even if someone did go to search there, he wouldn't find him in his small cave within such a vast area. Eventually, Patriarch Brian sighed and tried to forget the beautiful dream he painted for the family one day. This boy was as stupid as he was a genius. As for his father, he pressured the family to increase his allowance in order to increase his contributions and bring more geniuses to the world, and he had what he wanted. Robin's mother was the only one who was really saddened by his absence, but she consoled herself that he's now in a better place doing whatever he wants. As for his only friend, or more accurately, the person who used to sit with him for an hour every few months, Billy Burton, stayed for a while looking at the road which his friend had left from. He stayed like this for a few weeks until the last time when he closed his fists tightly, clenched his teeth and turned around to leave. No one knew what he was thinking, but this young man looked as he had made a fateful decision. 10 years passed in a flash. Robin was still sitting in front of the same cave, but his surroundings had changed. It was covered with the hides of the beasts he had killed while their heads decorating the walls. He himself grew a thick beard on his face, and he has been sitting like that for quite some time now. A few screams and yelling resounded in his ear, but he didn't move a muscle. Seeing that his rescuing duties would never end, and after the dangerous incident with Mila Bradley, he decided that these people need to bear the consequences from deciding to enter the outer beast zone on their own. The first few months after his decision were the hardest. Ignoring them, then hear chew noises, always send a shiver to his spine. He couldn't handle the feeling of guilt sometimes and would go on a frenzy, kicking and punching the stones of his cave until he passes out. He even gave up a few times and raced to rescue them, but these weak moments got less and less until it vanished completely. Now, a human shouting was nothing different to him than the chirping of birds to his ears, can never distract him. Maybe he would help when he is out hunting himself or when he's bored, but it's not nearly as an intense obligatory job for him as it was when he first came. During this period, Robin hasn't mastered anything yet. His destination is still unclear and overcast, ever since he hadn't discovered evidence of any new path during the first year of meditation. Eventually, he concluded that just sitting and meditating was a dead end. So he decided on checking random minor laws until he finds something worth pursuing. Currently, he has several theories and knows some truths about more than one undiscovered minor heavenly law, coupled with his harsh living conditions over the past decade, had made him much more stronger and experienced. He wasn't just the energy container he was in the past. His current strength is already above the 10th level boundary. Another 6 more years have passed. Now he has lived here more than his time with the Burton family. Now at the age of 30, except for that thick beard and a small scar above his eyebrow, he still looks as young as he was before. It's just that his fake smile ceased to exist as it changed to an indifferent, half-dead face. His expression changed only rarely. His body became thin. His clothes are dusty and blood-stained from top to bottom, but he did nothing to clean himself while sitting at a table in a restaurant. Yes, a restaurant. Although Robin was used to loneliness since his birth, he was still seeing people and interacting with others. But when he experienced true loneliness for more than a decade, it affected him greatly. 3 years ago, he could not bear his life cycle anymore and began to make small conversations with anyone he can find around his cave every once in a while. But it didn't ease his depression and loneliness, so he decided to go out to wander a little in the neighboring villages after every few months of meditating, and he did not worry that anyone would recognize him. With his worn clothes and thick beard, he did not look different from any poor hunter. Also, maybe after all these years no one would want to recognize him again anyway. So he started working on skinning the beasts. He hunted to sell their hides to the nearest village for money, then buying salt to add taste to the grilled meat, which had become nauseating recently, and sitting in cafes or restaurants to listen to the human voices that he longed for. And today was one of those days. While he was sitting there on mute as usual, an old man came and sat next to him. "Here you are again, ghost hunter. You're late for us this time, haha. Was your harvest good this time?" This was the owner of the shop who bought the hides from Robin every few months. After a few visits he got to know him and waited for him patiently. He loved this ghost hunter. Every time he appeared he brought with him a large number of hides and guts of the beasts whose level is higher than the 8th. These beasts are rarely seen and even rarer to find hunters strong enough to kill them. "I've left the hides in your store, and I've already taken my money from your son," said Robin, in a broken voice. He rarely uses this mouth of this to talk anymore. Getting words together has proven to be quite difficult. "Haha, good, very good. Hey, you don't intend to leave again so quickly, right? Do you intend to keep hunting your whole life, or what? At least have a rest here for a few days." "No need. I've decided to do something, and I have to do it at all costs." Robin sighed as he looked at the coffee cup in his hand. It pained him that he wouldn't have another for a few months. "And what's the problem if you finish it tomorrow or the day after that?" You have been hunting for years, and I have never seen you rest properly. You should take the pressure off your body, or the tension will affect you and you will stop supplying me with the goods. Listen, you are one of my most important suppliers and I fear about your mental health. How about you be my guest today? Let me take care of you for just one day and then do whatever you want," said the old man. Robin was about to reject, but soon he remembered that, after drinking his coffee, he will have to go back to his cave and sit on his ass meditating for a few months, and only get up when hunting those stupid beasts. He didn't want that. He raised his head and said in a low voice, "Well, if it's only a day. Ha ha ha. That's what I like to hear. Let's go. Restaurant owner. This guy's food and drinks are on me." The old man then grabbed Robin's hand and pulled him behind him. After walking for a while, they neared a huge decorated building. At the door stood a few girls in lewd clothes greeting everyone entering with a smile. When he saw this, Robin opened his eyes wide. H*T. This old man is planning to bring me a brothel. He thought for a moment about going back, but in the end, he decided otherwise. It's just a day. What could possibly happen? He gave himself up completely to the old man to choose what he would do for the night, since it was the first time he entered a brothel in his life. And it was the best night of Robin's life. Dancing, singing, drinking, and laughing of the beautiful women made him forget the worry and responsibilities he was carrying on his back. At the end of the evening, the old man suggested to him one of the younger girls to spend the night with. "This girl is the most expensive here and hasn't slept with many before. I will pay. You just finish the job, haha." The old man laughed out loud, pointing at a girl. "Well, I think knowing this feeling wouldn't hurt. I'm 30 after all. My peers did it at the age of 12. Robin thought for a while, then agreed and went with the girl to a room on the side of the building. 5 more years passed. Robin spent more than half of them in the neighboring village. After that, one night Robin returned to the village after only 2 months of meditation. The next time he came back was a month later, then every 2 weeks. His main purchases changed from salt and the necessities of life to wine and some time with the women of the brothel. Soon he became one of their most important customers. And in order to get the women there to like him more, he trimmed his beard, bought new clothes, and even various perfumes. His situation developed until he became almost resident in the village and went out to hunt beasts for a while, only to collect enough money to keep up with his new lifestyle. On a typical day in the tavern with his host Rita, while he was laughing and drinking, she asked while lying on his bare chest, "Lord Rob, you're so handsome and so dignified. Are you really just a hunter? Why don't you tell this little slave who my master really is? Ha ha ha, you got a good eye. I am the son of the I am? Robin's features began to change with each word, he said, until he turned into an ugly shape. After a few more seconds, he pushed Rita away from him and jumped out of the window, rushing towards his cave. After he reached the entrance to the cave, he looked inside for a while, then looked at the sky, shouted loudly, then knelt with his hands above his head. What the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing? If I wanted all this bullshit, I'd have stayed as a genius in the Burton family. I'd have got the most beautiful women and the best wine in the world. So what brings you here, Robin? To become a legend? To change the world? I don't even have some basic control over my own desires. Robin shouted as he hit the ground below him until his fists bled. The last 5 years I have only been able to reveal a few truths about one minor heavenly law. One damn minor law. 21 years have passed since my decision and I still don't even know which path to take. But I left my ambition to play with Rita's breasts. What did all that bullshit do for me? Damn me. Damn me. As his voice rose, the beasts in the area were trembling in fear. They felt his anger. The ghost of death that hunted them every now and then had already become their nightmare, and him being angry was never a good sign. Wait a moment. Reveal a few truths? Truths? Robin calmed down quickly as he rose from a kneeling position and immediately sat in a meditating position. His bloody hand didn't disturb him as he got drowned in his thoughts. During the 21 years, he had been busy revealing some simple truths of every minor heavenly law he discovers, but he has never tried to focus on a single minor law or he would have already controlled one of them. So far he has revealed a few truths and key details of about 18 minor laws. He wanted to try using one of those minor laws as a bridge towards the major law of the same path, but he failed repeatedly. Every time he feels that it's a dead end, he would try researching a new minor heavenly law. Maybe he would become lucky once and find what he wants. But his outbreak just now has made him look towards a direction he didn't think was possible before. The truths, they are everywhere. The way to reach them and their components differ, but in the end, everything has its own truth. Can't this be considered a heavenly path? When he directed his thoughts in this direction, he became afraid. Every heavenly path contains an infinite number of minor laws, but these laws must be something tangible or at least visible or sensible to be able to research it and look at its properties in the hope of mastering it and make a technique for others to use it. Can even something like the truth be a heavenly path? If it was indeed a path and had a major or even a minor law that he can use, wouldn't that be terrifying? Wouldn't that mean I could use this law to find more about the truth of various other things? Maybe the truth of the world itself. When he thought of this, Robin opened his eyes and shouted, "This is it!" Yes, that was his goal from the beginning, to find a unique path that would immortalize his name in history and pave the way for the later generation. That would make his life worth living. He returned to his meditative position quickly after calming himself down and began trying to set plans to reveal something about the path of truth and how to absorb and cultivate it. But after 2 days, he did not reach anything. It was the same problem that faced the sages before him when someone tried to study the path of space or the path of primal chaos. They had nothing tangible to study, not like the path of water, fire, etc. Space, primordial chaos, time, truth, and the like only exist in theories. Robin calmed himself again and thought, how did I think about the truth path in the first place? This will be the tip of the thread. How did he arrive at the existence of the law? By discovering and studying truths of 18 minor laws. Should he continue studying minor laws endlessly until he finds something? There is no going back now. I will seek the truth for the rest of my life. Let fate take its course. He resolved and opened his eyes, trying to spot another minor law around him. The days passed quickly. Another 60 years passed in the blink of an eye. Robin is now 90 years old. Time left its mark on him. Half of his hair became white and wrinkles appeared on his face. He shaved his beard, leaving nothing but a thick mustache. But his features also calmed down greatly and his eyes became as deep as the universe itself. Although he was just sitting in front of his desk writing a few notes, his every move seemed so perfect as an illusion. During that period, Reuben devoted himself to studying minor laws most of his time, bringing the number to 76 previously undiscovered minor laws. Of course, it's all just a discovery of the law itself, then looking more deeply into it to discover some truths about its existence, its functions, and the key to research it more easily in the future. He then write his findings in scrolls before throwing them inside the cave, which has now become more like a small lab full of scrolls everywhere and smells like ink, after it was full of beast hides and the smell of wine and blood. His goal was the path of truth, so he didn't try to use this information to fully comprehend these minor laws. He just wanted to get a general idea of as many laws as possible in order to get closer to his goal. But this rule of his was broken 3 times, yes. He has mastered previously undiscovered 3 minor laws. 1 minor law of vertical fluid. By observing the way the plant feed from the soil throughout these years, he found that its growth is closely related to the amount of water and food that passes through it and how it is distributed. So he decided to master the law so that it may benefit him in the future if he decides to plant something. And this indeed happened. As he was getting older, he decided to use this minor law to plant a little garden at the bottom of the mountain to provide him the vegetables and fruits he loves and give him some change in appearance. It's unknown how many would commit suicide if they knew that such a monstrous garden exists. And it has nothing but fruits. 2 minor law of atmospheric steam. It's tasked to extract water from the air around him, and therefore there is no longer a need to go to the river every now and then to fetch water for drinking, bathing, cooking, etc., which greatly increased the time spent in meditation. With just a wave of his hand now he could compress all the steam around him, creating a tiny cloud that would rain where he wants. 3 minor law of blood rush. With this law he can increase the speed of blood flowing to his head, and thus he can stay awake for much longer periods than those of his level. Usually, the pillars for level 11 can be created with 1 minor law, but Robin didn't use any of them and stayed at level 10. The laws seem all simple. But who would have discovered them? The sages are interested in laws that increase their power and the power of their families and forces in the greatest possible way. Which sage would seclude himself for tens of years, wasting his precious time to meditate and master such trivial laws? Another problem is that when the pillars are made from a law, the cultivator affinity rises towards the path of his original law. A sage which made his pillars with a minor law of the fire path can't research other paths as freely. He would need much more time and effort. As for those who really need laws of this caliber, like the farmers, miners, and those how to work in the desert, can't even dream of researching any of them. And as for geniuses like Robin, the natural choice for them would be to study a technique for a pre-recorded minor law to rapidly increase their power. Who else would have the audacity to waste their life like that? During the 60 years, Robin did not completely confine himself to the cave like his first decade, but still had to go every few months to the village to sell beast hides and buy salt, scrolls, ink, and other necessities. And also to reward himself with one night in the brothel every New Year. Ghost hunter Rob was very famous in the village, and the residents considered him one of them and came to start conversations with him on each visit. Till one of the visits when he was still 68 years old, someone mentioned that he recently attended a funeral for the Burton family that was held in the city of Jura, describing how majestic the funerals of the rich families and so on. When Robin heard his words, he inquired further and found that the deceased was his mother. He went silent for a long time, then sighed, excused himself politely, then left towards Jura. It didn't take too long for him to get back to Jura City. He entered the city covering his face. The first thing he did was to go around inquiring about her condition before death. He quickly knew that she had given birth to another 2 siblings, a boy and a girl, and that she had died of old age, nothing suspicious. He sighed in relief. His mother hadn't had a happy life, but at least she died comfortably on her bed with her 2 new children around her. He then went to visit her grave. His mother wasn't anything special, and so she was buried in a guard-less area. He just sat there, looking at her tombstone for God knows how long. At the end he knelt on his 2 knees. "I'm sorry, Mother." From start to finish he hadn't shed a single tear. Then he got up, turned around, and left. He still had a lot to do back in his little cave. The years passed in the blink of an eye. Robin is now 120 years old. His hair all turned white and wrinkles covering his face. But his build is still strong and his eyes are still focused. He was recently able to gain some achievements in the path of truth, which enabled him to continue his work more smoothly. During this period, the number of secondary laws he discovered has reached 131, and he also mastered the first level of several other minor heavenly laws. His success rate in discovering laws and revealing their truths has risen dramatically recently, making Robin sure he is on the right path. Robin yawned after he finished writing a few notes in a scroll before throwing it aside. Then he stretched his aged body and came out of the cave, took a deep breath before going down for a walk as usual every few days. After a few steps, the voices of beasts and birds began echoing across the valley. All of them knew that the shadow of death began his move. This was an alarm system that the local beasts made together. Those beasts of different species did not expect to cooperate in their lifetime, but Robin's presence forced them to coordinate to escape from his claws. "Shut up. I want blood peacock meat today. Any other creature should go before I change my mind. Hey you, where are the blood peacocks?" Robin shouted at the top of his voice, then pointed to a royal gorilla near him which freaked out and pointed towards a certain direction. All the beasts suddenly calmed down when they knew they had survived another day, except for a frantic cry came from a blood peacock nearby followed by words in an incomprehensible language. Seems like it was cursing at the royal gorilla, before he flew away quickly, leaving the royal gorilla behind who looked away and began to whistle. Robin laughed at the scene then started running after the blood peacock. Although he is considered old now and still only at the 10th level, any young man under the 13th level cannot dream of keeping up with him thanks to the number of laws he snoops on and ones he mastered. He chased after the level 10 blood peacock until he approached the border of the outer beast zone, when he heard the sound of a baby crying about 100 meters away. "We are near the border, but this is still a forbidden area. What is a baby doing here?" This wasn't the first time he encountered humans. Along the years he saved many hunters and gave directions to many young adventurers. But this was the first time he heard a voice of a baby. Robin stopped on one of the trees looking in the direction of the baby, which gave the peacock a chance to get a safe distance. It screamed excitedly, then turned and raised to Robin the middle feather in his wing. "Damn chicken! I'll make your feathers a pillow soon enough." That sentence from Robin brought it back to his senses and sped forward at full speed. As for Robin, he turned his eyes again towards the place where the child's cry came from. He came close without a sound and found a woman holding a basket with a baby, putting it gently under a huge tree. "I'm sorry, son. I know this is a crime against you, but your father divorced me and can't bring you up alone. My best chance is to give up on you and find myself another husband. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." The woman cried for a couple of minutes, then left the basket behind and ran toward the border. A killing intent flashed through Robin's eyes, but he suppressed it quickly. His experience told him how difficult life is for a mortal. A woman like this, even if she earned enough money somehow to raise her baby, she wouldn't have been able to protect him till he grew up. Most likely he would have been caught early on and turned into a slave. So the decision to feed him to beasts now is considered the smartest one. While he was looking at the child calmly thinking what he would do, a huge wild boar with red eyes came, approaching the baby. Robin was used to seeing blood and knew how cruel the world is. But he just couldn't watch this anymore. "Get out of here. You fat F***CK. That bag of meat is mine." The boar panicked when he heard the famous Death Shadow's voice, and ran to the opposite side without looking behind him. After another moment, Robin jumped off the tree and walked over to the baby, picked him up, finding that it was a boy. "I think I needed someone to clean the cave for me. That would increase the time of my research." Even he knew that these harsh words were not what he really felt. "It seems that the heaven took pity on my loneliness at last and sent me this baby to comfort me in the last days." Another 10 years had passed. Robin is now 130 years old and is approaching the end of his life. His beard has become longer and whiter and his back has started to bend a little. But the speed of discovering and analyzing laws has increased exponentially. During these 10 years he discovered more than 50 laws and mastered 3 new ones. This is the result of his success in the path of truth, which opened a few new doors for him. The path itself still has a transparent barrier that he cannot penetrate, but this no longer makes a difference to him. He has surrendered to his inevitable death. What he is doing now will be his legacy, distributed to humans after his death to carry and immortalize his name. That's enough for him. And the task of distributing these priceless scrolls fell on the shoulders of little Caesar. The 10-year-old, who had already reached the 6th level of Energy Foundation, was standing by Robin's desk inside the cave. Robin looked at him. "What are you doing here, brat? Didn't I tell you to catch a red-eyed snake? He's lying outside, Dad. Then go and skin it well. I don't want any cuts on the hide or we lose a lot when we sell it." "That's done too." Little Caesar grinned and raised his neck as if he had saved the world. Robin looked at the boy before him, then sighed and rubbed his head. This kid did not know the meaning of childhood. Since his early days he was raised inside a cave surrounded by beasts. Robin taught him martial arts since he was 2 years old. With time he poured in him all the knowledge he gathered during more than a century. For example, a law that increases his intelligence and another that speeds up his absorption of energy around him, even making him technique for one of the strongest minor heavenly laws from the fire path, which made him a small monster. Even he who was born a genius did not have his strength when he was this age. What helped in the upbringing of Caesar in such an environment was the power of his father. Robin had ordered the beasts in the jungle not to attack Caesar unless they were on the same level, so he could move around freely without worrying about the stronger beasts. Listen to the little Caesar telling him how he intelligently spotted his giant prey, then attacking it forcefully and knocked it to the ground, constantly waving his little hands while Robin sometimes pretends to be surprised and laughs out loud at other times. He really liked this kid. Unfortunately, his 130-year-old age made him destined to leave him soon. Another 10 years passed in a blink of an eye. Robin now could only walk with the help of a stick. His eyes were almost closed with wrinkles. His white beard had reached his knees. He looked like he was about to die at any moment. As he was taking his daily nap at noon, when a voice came from afar, "Dad, I'm back." The sound of the shouting scared old Robin out of his sleep. He looked outside the cave and cursed. "You motherfucker. Why don't you just die? Hey, I know you don't really mean it, hee. I will not die before you," Caesar said with a smile as he entered the cave and approached to sit next to Robin. Caesar is now almost 20 years old and is at level 13. For years ago, he used one of the most powerful minor laws of the fire path that Robin discovered to build the pillars of the domain above the 10th level. And because the law was transferred to him directly from the source, he took pure information and instructions, gaining more power compared to those of the same level. But he did not find anyone to test his new power on, so he decided to head towards the inner best zone, where there are beasts that reaches level 20. With his new strength, in addition to the bloody battles that he fights daily there, Caesar has gained a heavy murderous aura. He has become a true fighter to be reckoned with. The complete opposite of his father, who has remained all his life in the outer region, refusing to enter so that the constant disturbance does not affect his research. Caesar is now used to his own lifestyle. He would head to the inner beast zone, stays there for about a month before he returns with a few hides and valuable plants, then comes to see if his father needs something, before gonna sell what he has and buy new scrolls and the rest of his necessities. Cough cough. Off my face, you bastard, and let me finish my nap. I have a lot more research to do when I wake up, Robin said while pulling the blanket to cover himself again. Research again? Dad, you are an unparalleled genius. You can step to level 11 at any time and extend your life. Why do you insist on being stubborn? Living is more important than anything. Caesar was upset when he heard what was said. This is not the first time this kind of conversation has taken place. Every year that passes increases his father's disability and brings him one step closer to his grave. Robin was silent for a few minutes until Caesar thought he had fallen asleep. Then he heard living. Maybe the most important thing to you. I have nothing to live for. I have no passion but the path of truth that I spent my life on. If I don't master it, then I will just die. Live for me. You are my only family. Isn't that enough of a reason for you? Caesar jumped up and cried, weeping. Scram! You're not even my real son. Robin grabbed a book and threw it at Caesar. Damn you! I know you didn't give birth to me, but you're still my dad. You won't take this from me, Caesar said while letting the book hit his forehead. You have already grown up. I gave you all my experience and I will leave you this treasure of scrolls. If you sell them properly, you will have enough money and lands to declare your own kingdom. Isn't that enough? Find a good girl and marry her. Establish your own family. Forget about this old man, Robin said with a weak voice. All this won't make up for you, said Caesar as he went to put the book back in its place next to Robin, then came out of the cave. After about 10 minutes of silence inside the cave. TSK boys these days are feminine, but it was clear that the owner of the voice was crying. Robin did not know if he was crying over his life that he spent on things that would benefit others, or over his only son, who was not his own, but is still pained when thinking that he's about to leave him, after another 4 years. Robin is now 144 years old and can no longer stand without Caesar's assistance. Caesar decided to stop his travels to the inner beast zone to spend with his father the remaining of his life. It was a simple and warm life. Caesar takes care of the necessities while Robin concentrates on meditating on his little bed and writing notes. Every now and then he passes a few new tips to Caesar about the laws which increase his fighting and surviving abilities. Although Caesar is now much stronger than his father, he still listens carefully and applies every word. And indeed, every piece of advice hit its goal and raised his ability to a completely different level. But this was increasing Caesar's resentment at his father's decision. After he began to go out to explore, he knew more about the laws and paths and how difficult it was to discover them. He knew what his father was doing in his small cave and knew what this meant for the whole world. Robin discovered hundreds of minor laws and recorded truths them and the keys to complete its cultivation techniques. Although he did not fully master them, his mere recordings would reduce the time it would take for those after him to master the laws. Robin's records can be mastered and complete the method of cultivation in less than 4 years if any average sage worked on them. Caesar looked deeply at his father, who was explaining a new law to him, with eyes shining with tears. Such a genius should stay alive. His death is a crime against the whole world. 2 years later, Robin is sitting on his bed, as usual, contemplating the creation around him when he felt his heartbeat had stopped. Oh, looks like my time has come. So that's what death feels like, Robin thought as the interruption of blood flow began to affect the speed of his thinking. I have revealed the truths of hundreds of laws throughout my life. I have mastered dozens of them and taken glimpses of many known major laws. If I had studied one of those, I would have mastered it by now. But all of this was not enough to completely reveal the path of truth. What a damn path I have chosen. Star. That feeling. Oh. Maybe I should call Caesar, to tell him that death is also a heavenly path. Asterisk. Boom. Suddenly everything around Robin seemed to stop and a strong light flashed at the end of his bed. The light began to gather rapidly in a human form, and the clearer the human shape gets, the more the time slowed down around Reuben, until even the insects stopped beating their wings in midair. What exactly are you? Are you really human? Said the humanoid confusingly. Is this a joke? You're the one who popped up out of nowhere in the form of a damn talking light and you're the one asking if I'm the human? Hey! If you're here to take my soul, just take it and get it over with. Don't mess with me. Robin shouted angrily. No, I'm not here to take your life. I'm a human. I was amazed when the path of truth whispered to me just now that another one had mastered its first level, so I came to see this new brother myself. But my astonishment increased when I saw this planet. Your very existence should be impossible, the humanoid said while bewilderment appeared on his simple features. My existence? Hey, explain your words quickly. I'm a dead man. I don't have enough time for this. You will only die if I allow it, rest assured. As for the meaning of my words, you are currently living in what we call a nascent planet, the laws of which aren't fully discovered and its inhabitants are weak, while the planet is still focusing on gathering energy from the primordial chaos around it to strengthen and prepare itself. In its current state, the most the planet can do is to give a few chosen of its creatures certain talents such as intelligence, stronger soul, stronger body, etc. This is to help more inhabitants to grow to the levels 30-40, what you call sages, to help in revealing more laws and strengthen the rest of creation. But you shouldn't have mastered the path of truth. A planet with a cultivation history that didn't exceed 60,000 years is definitely not ready for this yet. It was necessary to wait for an additional couple 100,000 years at least before the inhabitants began to explore the path of truth. Tell me, how did you do it? The humanoid light spoke with mixed emotions between puzzlement and curiosity. Robin went silent for a while as he tried to absorb what he just heard. A nascent planet? Not ready? Hundreds of thousands of years? Is this some kind of hallucinations before death? But he put this idea aside and started telling the humanoid light the story of his life from his birth until this moment. Even if he was hallucinating and talking to himself, there is no harm in recalling the past for one last time. I don't know if the planet is lucky or unfortunate with your presence. Instead of acting like an obedient creature and becoming a sage, you went to accelerate the plant's evolution process by at least tens of thousands of years. Sighed the humanoid light and shook his head. Hee. Sorry for not playing by the rules, I guess, but does it matter? All that's left of me are the scrolls I wrote about some minor laws. The law of truth will die with me. My heart has already stopped. Robin smiled, appearing calm, but deep down he was extremely unwilling. The goal that he was after was finally in his reach, but he was dying. I told you you won't die unless I allow it. Robin, do you want another chance? The humanoid said slowly. A chance? What chance? Even if you offered to stop time until I lay my pillars with the path of truth, I wouldn't agree. I don't want to live a few more years like this, depending on my son to help me peeing. But if you stop the time until I pass the path of truth to my son Caesar, I will be grateful to you, he said. Robin in a calm voice. Your son? You mean the boy who drags a giant blood peacock outside? I'll bring him for you. With a thought, Caesar appeared next to his father's bed in a weird position like he was pulling something heavy. Then the time stop was cancelled on him and he stuck to the wall head first. Damn! What the dash? The words stopped in Caesar's throat as he saw the humanoid light, then his father next to him. The humanoid looked at Robin. I brought him not to pass the law, but to witness our conversation so you don't have to explain it to him later. Listen, Robin, I refuse to allow your death. Someone like you shouldn't die like this. Although this planet is not under my control, I will break the rules for you this time. I hope you remember me later. Then he raised his hand and directed it towards Robin. Caesar watched from the side, not knowing what was happening, but he did not try to intervene. A ball of light shrouded Robin and lifted him up. Changes immediately began to occur in his body. His weak, worn body began to harden and the wrinkles on his face that painted the fatigue of a century and a half began to fade. Caesar opened his eyes wide as he watched this sudden change. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Caesar's heart almost exploding from the intensity of enthusiasm. Seeing his dying father regaining his luster and youth, he felt like dreaming. It was a simple operation that took about 5 minutes. But Caesar felt like it took a lifetime. When the light finally disappeared around Robin, he fell hard on his bed then shouted, "Ugh! That was uncalled for. What did you do to me?" Robin shouted, pointing his finger at the humanoid. When he noticed with the corner of his eye that this was not his hand, he used his other hand to check the one with which he was pointing, but noticed that his other hand has also changed. These are the hands of a youth. He then looked at Caesar and found him opening his mouth and eyes while looking at him in astonishment. "Shut your mouth and go and get me a damn mirror," Robin shouted at him, before noticing that his voice was also that of a youth. Those words brought back Caesar to reality. He quickly brought the mirror and gave it to his father. Caesar expected his father to shout and attack the humanoid with questions as soon as he sees himself. But he was met with silence. A silence that lasted for a few minutes before a single tear fell from Robin's eye. "This is me. This is me when I was young," he said in a choked voice as he was trying to restrain himself. "I used advanced levels of the time major law and life major law to bring your body back to that of a 12-years-old child. This removed all cultivation from your body, but you still have your original soul power, intelligence, and your memory. All the laws that you mastered can still be used when you gather some energy in your body. I hope you make good use of your second chance. Let's meet again if fate wills it." The humanoid light turned back the time law affecting the planet to normal before his body started to disperse. He was about to leave. "Wah! Wait! Why are you in such a hurry? Can you do what you did to me to Caesar?" Robin waved his hand at the humanoid. The boy is still in his 20s and his talent is passable. Why would you want to bring him back to being a child?" The man of light was surprised by the request. "He's my son. Now that I've reached the first level in the law of truth, I bet it will be easier to master the rest of the laws. I want to get him a major law to make his pillars with." "How come someone so smart be so shameless? You're supposed to be scared and kneel down in front of me after you saw what I could do. But you're trying to take advantage of me even more." The man of light did not know whether to cry or laugh. "Kneel? Forget it. I didn't even kneel to fate. Just do it if you can. I'll owe you another one," Robin said proudly. The humanoid just wanted to shout, "What can you even do to repay the first favor?" But eventually he gave up and pointed at Caesar, and soon a ball of light swallowed him. During the operation, the humanoid looked at Robin and said, "Let me advise you so you don't waste your time. This is not a resurrection. You can say it's just letting the body go back to a certain point in time. It's not a perfect technique. One of its defects is that your son will have to build his pillars from the same path with which he built his pillars previously. The major law of that path is his maximum now." "Oh, there is such a thing? I was going to give him what I know about the truth. But it's okay. The major law of fire isn't that bad either," said Robin, frustrated a little. If the founding sage of the Flame Empire had heard this, he would have probably hanged himself with his own underwear. "There is something I wanted to ask. What exactly did I master? The major law of truth? Or just a minor one?" Robin asked. There were no records on this path, so he didn't even know what he pursued or did he achieved. "Truth is truth, my little friend. There are very few master paths that have just one law, and the truth is one of them." "How did you know about my situation? How the truth law told you? Who are you? What can I call you?" Robin kept asking. He knew if the humanoid left it would be very difficult to meet him again. You don't need to know all those details now. Just know that I'm like you, someone who built his pillars by the law of truth. People like us are very rare even in the scope of the entire universe. I could not stand seeing one die at such a young age, particularly someone as special as you. You asked about my name. I forgot it. Don't be surprised, when you live as long as I did, you will lose focus on such trivial matters. But currently they call me the all-seeing God. Oh, by the way, I am the ruler of a few middle-aged planets, said the man of light as if it were normal. Ruler of middle-aged planets? What do you mean by that? That also you don't need to know. Hey, you can call me a all-seeing big brother, ha ha ha. I will leave with you a sliver of my soul. You can use it to ask me anything if you encounter an obstacle, but beware. I may not answer you. I have interfered with the fate of this planet enough. One last thing. When you go back to the first level of the energy foundation and start to see the patterns, be nice and don't consume everything. Leave something for the latter generation. Don't rape the planet. The humanoid light laughed loudly as his body dissipated. Then a small point of light separated from him and entered Robin's head. The humanoid light's words sent Robin into dizziness patterns? What is this? But he quickly regained his calm. Thinking would not do him any good before regaining the first level of his energy foundation. Then he turned his eyes to Caesar, who had also completed his transformation, and turned back to a 12-year-old boy. Ha ha ha, you look nicer now. Caesar looked at his father in astonishment and said, Who are you talking about? I didn't know that you were so handsome and cute. All my life I've known you like an old fart. I want to pinch your cheeks. Caesar approached, lifting his hands all the way near to Robin's cheeks. In fact, there was one thing the all-seeing God neglected to mention. This body rebuilding operation was not that simple, the main purpose of which was to actually save Robin. But his current body has still tested the effect of several major laws. It turned near perfect. Any weaknesses in him have disappeared and his features have become more defined as if they were drawn with a pen. In general, he still retains the structure of his original face and body, but whoever knows him previously and looks closely will find that he has become more handsome. Of course, the same applies to Caesar. Off my face, you unfilial child. Even if I look younger, don't forget that I'm still your adoptive father. Hey, I think we should plan what we're going to do next, said Robin as he went to his bed, placing one leg on top of the other and supported his chin with one of his hands. But suddenly he stood up and jumped, Yahoo! Then, ahem, and sat down again in the same position. Caesar sat on the floor next to the bed and looked up, waiting for what his father would say. Obviously, we can't stay here. If the beasts knew we had become mortals, they'd fight over who bites our bones first. We've caused them some serious damage over the last century, so I don't blame them, Robin said as he moved his fingers resting on his chin. But where will we go, Dad? Since I opened my eyes to the world, we lived in this cave. If we went to the border villages, they would not know us. We would be treated as two orphan children. We might even be subjected to enslavement. Oh, in fact, I am a descendant of a large family in the Duchy of Alton called the Burton family. There are tens of thousands bearing the family name and many times the number of slaves and soldiers. They will not mind the two of us if we go back. Some of the old bastards there must still remember my childhood appearance. But I guess that wouldn't work. The reason I left them earlier is that I don't like the feeling of being used, and surely they wouldn't keep quiet when they see my current body or while watching our training speed. Didn't you say that these scrolls are precious? Why don't we sell one, buy a house from the prophet, and live with what's left? After a few years we'll be strong enough to roam freely, stated Caesar. Oh, you reminded me. Robin suddenly got up and grabbed the candle on his desk, then threw it over the pile of scrolls. What the hell are you doing? Are you insane? This is the hard work that you spent all your life on. Caesar yelled loudly, almost going mad at the sight in front of him. Although he himself did not care much about these scrolls, he knew that they were everything for Robin. He gave his life to write them. How did he take the decision to burn them so easily? The hard work that I spent my life on is in my head. I was constantly recording this to leave behind a legacy that benefits the world and immortalizes my name. Wasn't this why I trained you so hard? To get strong enough to spread my work on my behalf. But I don't need this anymore. It's not like I've become stingy, but the right time hasn't come yet. If one of these scrolls comes out to light now, we will be pursued immediately by enemies that we cannot withstand. Either they hunt and torture us to get the rest of the scrolls or make me work as a slave for them for the rest of my life. I really want to publish my findings, but like this. Of course, there might be someone smart and try to protect a talent like me, but I wouldn't leave such an important matter to fate. Or why do you think I hadn't sold or published one of them earlier, you genius? Robin said sarcastically. So, what to do? Now we really have no source of money or a place to shelter. We are both just weak kids. Damn. You just had to ask him to rebuild my body, didn't you? I could have provided protection and a stable income for both of us. Why did you put us in this miserable situation? Since when you and I need someone to take care of us? Caesar yelled angrily. Of course I thought about it, but I had to take this bet and give you this chance to get stronger. Have you heard the humanoid? Speaking about planets and big stuff. With the law of truth, I'm destined to walk a long and thorny road. You are my son, even if it is by name only. We have spent almost 3 decades together. I won't use you to protect me at first, then cast you aside when I advance further. We both have to move forward together. You want to protect me? Fine. I'll focus on my research, and you focus on your cultivation and protect me. For the rest of your life, I will not get you off easy, you wretched bastard, Robin said with a laugh while patting Caesar's head. Caesar was silent and looked toward the ground. His eyes filled with tears, then smiled and quickly wiped them and raised his head to look at Robin, who turned his back to him and headed towards the entrance of the cave. So he got up and went behind him, thinking, you saved me from the mouths of animals, you fed me, taught me and trained me. There hasn't been one day when I felt like an orphan. You say protect you for the rest of your life? I swear that even if the death god himself came for you, I will shield you. There was a long silence as Robin sat in front of the cave with Caesar behind him. Then he rose up and shouted, I remember. There's a rich girl who owed me over a century ago. It's time to give her a chance to pay off her debt. Huh? Over a century. Do you think she'll remember you? Hey, at least we have a place to start. Where is she? The Duchy of Bradley. Start packing. Get the money we have left and a few fruits from the garden. That peacock looks good too. Cut some meat from it and bring it with us to eat on our way. We have a long trip. Robin laughed loudly. Caesar was shocked by what he heard. He wanted to go to another duchy. Although the Duchy of Bradley is on the border with the Duchy of Alton, the distance is still far. Secondly, he doesn't just want to go to the borders of the Duchy of Bradley, but look for a girl inside. This will take a few weeks, but he trusted his father's intelligence and went to start packing. Just like that, the journey that will change the world has begun with 2 mortal kids and 1 can peacock. The Beast Zone was the infamous borderland between the duchies of Bradley and Alton. Yet hidden along its edge lay a narrow, relatively safe passage known as the Fiery Gates, a route often used by merchants and weak travelers. This was the destination Robin and Caesar sought. Although its name sounded dangerous, it was still far better than dealing with the horrors of the Beast Zone itself. The 2 children had skirted the zone for several hundred miles, eventually reaching the safer road. But safety here applied only to beasts, not to humans. 2 mortal children carrying a large sack were little more than walking prey in the eyes of many. For that reason, Robin and Caesar relied on their wits to the utmost. They marched openly at noon, keeping to the crowded roads under the protection of public eyes, then vanished from sight for the rest of the day. This strategy, combined with the long distance, greatly delayed their arrival. Nearly a month had passed before they finally reached the Fiery Gates. To their surprise, the border turned out to be nothing more than a small town with a crude sign at its entrance reading, The Fiery, a sight that made Robin burst into laughter. After a moment of thought, though, it made sense. Both duchies belonged to the Kingdom of the Black Sun. Naturally, there would be no heavily fortified border between them. Robin stopped one of the street merchants. Uncle, how do we reach the capital of the duchy, the city where the Duke and his family reside? You want to go to Bradley's Pearl City? The man snorted, looking down on them. Head northeast for 200 miles. But don't get your hopes up. I doubt they'll let the likes of you inside. Oh, looks like we have another long walk ahead, Dad. Let's rest here for at least a few hours, Caesar murmured. Kids these days, Robin sighed, shaking his head as he moved toward a tall tree. No determination at all. With that, he began climbing, Caesar right behind him. The street merchant went silent as he heard this weird conversation. 0 Another 2 weeks passed before the children stood before the gates of Bradley's Pearl City. The metropolis rose with towering walls, worthy of being the heart of a duchy. Far grander than Jura, the city of Robin's birth. "Stop where you are!" shouted a guard, leveling his spear at them. "Where do you think you're going? If you're not residents or don't have an invitation, get lost at once." "Lady Mila Bradley was the one who invited me," Robin declared, his voice loud enough to draw the attention of every guard at the gate. The reaction was immediate. The guards and even the surrounding commoners turned to look at him. Do you know the penalty for lying about Lady Mila?" One soldier hissed, glaring at Robin as if he were already a corpse. "Then simply tell her that the one who saved her life in the outer beast zone over 100 years ago has come to see her. I hope you understand how serious this matter is. If you dare to mock me or refuse to deliver my words, you will pay with your blood." Robin's words were firm, though his small frame still made him look almost innocent. But his declaration sent a chill down the spines of every guard. The one who saved her life. If the boy spoke the truth and they mistreated him, not only their heads but their families' lives would be forfeit. "Go to the ducal palace at once and inform Lady Mila what is happening here," the captain barked, sending one of his men running. Then he turned back to Robin, eyes flashing briefly with killing intent before softening. "For your sake, boy, you had better be right." Robin leaned toward Caesar and whispered, "When I give the signal, throw the bag at the nearest guard and run to the right. I'll run left. We'll meet at the last tree we camped beneath yesterday." "Are you insane? Was this all an act? Those guards will tear us apart." Caesar hissed back, his voice low but frantic. "She seemed like a woman of her word," Robin muttered with a shrug. "But who knows what she's become over the years? How could I predict her reaction?" He stepped a little away, clearly preparing to bolt. After 10 suffocating minutes, the messenger guard returned, but alone. The tension spiked until suddenly, a beautiful woman descended from the skies like a falling star. Robin recognized her instantly. It's her. Yet when his eyes caught her voluptuous figure, he hesitated for a moment, almost doubting himself. But the way all the guards bowed deeply confirmed her identity beyond doubt. Her gaze lingered on Robin in silence before she pointed coldly. "Take him to my residence." Without another word, she turned and departed as magnificently as she had arrived. "You fools! You almost got yourselves killed," Caesar roared with laughter. "Ha ha ha! Dad is a personal guest of the Duke's daughter herself. Go on, bow before him." Hearing the word, "Dad," made all the guards exchange strange looks, just like the merchant before. In the end, they decided it must be some odd nickname. Robin and Caesar, now accompanied by 2 guards, were escorted toward Mila's mansion. On the way, Robin grabbed Caesar's arm and muttered, "Stop calling me Dad. You're taller and stronger than me now, you bulky idiot. Call me Big Brother." Caesar found it hard to answer. He had been calling Robin Dad for more than 26 years. Any other title felt alien on his tongue. The guards delivered them to Lady Mila's residence, a grand estate neighboring the ducal palace itself, and quickly relayed what had happened before departing. A servant led Robin and Caesar into the main hall and instructed them to wait until Lady Mila returned. It might take hours, or even days. Robin simply sat down, prepared to fill the long wait with cultivation. Once the servant ensured everything was in order, he quietly left the room. At that moment, a shadow streaked in through the window and a hand clamped around Robin's throat. "What the hell are you?" It was Mila. Gone was the calm and dignified facade she had shown at the city gate. Her eyes widened with shock the moment she saw Robin. But here, away from prying eyes. She no longer needed to hide her emotions. Why is everyone asking me that lately? Am I too handsome for a human? Robin chuckled, ignoring the fact that he was dangling in midair. Don't you dare change the subject. Mila's voice shook with fury. More than a century ago you were already an old man at the 10th level of Energy Foundation. How is it possible that you now stand before me as a 12-year-old child who hasn't even reached the first level? Her grip tightened around his neck. All right, it's me, Robin rasped, his voice strained. I didn't think you had such a sharp memory. It seems I left quite the impression, huh? But you got one thing wrong. I wasn't old back then. I was a teenager, just like you. Liar! Mila hurled him aside, though she controlled her strength to ensure he wasn't badly harmed. Her voice thundered. I was, and still am, the supreme genius of the entire Black Sun Kingdom. No one dares claim greater talent than mine. And yet you say that when we were the same age, you stood above me by a whole level? Robin dusted off his clothes, coughing slightly. Is that old man still alive? Her eyes narrowed. Who do you mean? The old man who guarded your safety when we first met. He must have seen through my real age. Bring him here, let him testify, and then we'll talk. Guards, summon Uncle Brown for me. Tell him it's an urgent matter that cannot be delayed. Mila's voice thundered across the grand hall, making every servant and guard flinch. They scattered at once, leaping through windows and rushing out the doors to search for Uncle Brown. I don't know what game you're playing, but the truth will come out soon enough. Mila's gaze lingered on Robin, piercing and cold, before she walked to the main seat and closed her eyes. Robin only shrugged, sitting back in his chair as if nothing had happened, signaling Caesar to calm down. Caesar, however, was on the verge of madness. Why did father have to pick this particular woman if he knew there would be trouble? Why reveal his age and make her angrier still? 10 long minutes passed in suffocating silence. Finally, an aged voice boomed through the hall. What is it, girl, dragging me from the tavern like this? Don't you know an old man needs his rest? Uncle Brown froze mid-sentence when his eyes landed on the smiling youth before him. It's you. But your bones, your age? How can this be? His voice trembled. The memory of that encounter in the outer beast zone had never faded. Robin's presence had carved itself into him deeply. Recognition was instant. It's good that you're here, Uncle Brown, Mila snapped. This brat claims he was my age when we met in the beast zone. Is that true? Uncle Brown sighed heavily and shook his head. No. Just as I thought. A swindler. He was a year younger than you. Uncle Brown. This isn't funny. Mila's eyes shifted from Robin's smile to her uncle's solemn face. Do you see me laughing? Uncle Brown said firmly. The boy was truly 14 when you met him. I didn't tell you at the time because I feared you would become obsessed with him and abandon the path your father laid for you. All the while, Robin sat calmly, nodding to himself with a smile, as though enjoying a tune only he could hear. Caesar, meanwhile, clung to the edge of his chair, eyes wide as if he were watching a play unfold before him. A full year younger, and stronger by an entire level. Mila's chest heaved as she pointed a trembling finger at her uncle. All these years I believed I was the most talented of my generation, for centuries even, and you're telling me it was all a lie from the very beginning? You knew, and you said nothing? It took her several moments to steady her breathing before she sank back into her seat. Her eyes locked onto Robin. What's your name? Your true age? How do you change the age of your bones? What are you really doing here? And why have you chosen to reveal yourself to me? Robin's voice was gentle. The first two questions can be answered together. I am Robin Burton. Do you still remember the name? Robin. Mila muttered, then her eyes widened. Ah, the one I intended to challenge back then. The one who escaped me, and it was you. This explains much and confirms your true age. It means you are not some ancient monster wearing a child's skin. Of course, if you are honest. She turned. Uncle Brown, Send our fastest bird. Have our men in Jura seek out an elder there and order him to paint a likeness of Robin Burton. Tell him it's for a book on young geniuses across history, or some such excuse." Uncle Brown gave a curt nod and departed swiftly. Robin tilted his head slightly. "Shall I continue? As for your third question, you could say I ate a strange herb, and this is the result." "But that's not the truth, is it?" Mila's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Maybe. But it's the only answer you'll get." Robin shrugged. "For your fourth question, as you can see, my brother and I are weak. We have nowhere safe to cultivate until we grow stronger. I came to collect your debt, protect us, give us a proper place to train, and provide some resources for 5 years. That is my request." "Why should I agree?" Mila narrowed her eyes, her gaze sharp. "Where does this boy get his confidence?" "Because a woman of your stature, talent, and strength would never break her word, and certainly not over something so small. To do so would weigh heavily on your conscience, wouldn't it? You are a woman who is raised to lead a duchy after all. What would I get out of this? This interesting herb sounds nice." Mila arched a brow. "You were honest enough about you age and possibly you identity. Why not everything else? I'm a man of many interesting things. You will know more as the days pass." Robin replied smoothly. "And I choose honesty with you because I knew you uncle would identify me and my age immediately anyway, and he did as soon as he saw me. What can I do? I'm a charming man. So lying is of no use." "Are you always that arrogant?" Mila frowned, not knowing how to respond. "How dare I?" Robin smiled. "I put a lot at risk to come here. But I have a feeling that we will have a fruitful partnership, one that will benefit us both." "Enough said," Mila sighed. "You and your brother may use one of the empty rooms while we await the portrait from Jura. Until it arrives, you are forbidden from leaving." A flicker of killing intent flashed in her eyes, making Caesar swallow hard. The days that followed were uneasy. A servant escorted Robin and Caesar to one of the grand chambers, where they remained for 2 full days. Robin relaxed, cultivating as if at home, while Caesar spent every moment on edge, counting his breaths, terrified that one mistake would bring disaster. What if the guy they asked to draw the portrait was drunk or something? At last, the portrait arrived from Jura. Mila studied it in silence for several minutes before sighing and summoning the brothers back before her. "It seems you were telling the truth. Your age and identity are confirmed. You truly were more talented than me back then. Interesting. I wonder if you will reach that same height a second time." Her eyes narrowed. "Now tell me, exactly who do you expect me to help?" "I already said," Robin answered with a faint smile. "I need protection and cultivation resources for 5 years. Such things are nothing to you. But I know I cannot stay here in your house, nor can I be hidden away in some safe residence. That would attract too much attention. So, here is my proposal. Place me where teenagers of my apparent age would normally go. Just instruct the overseer not to group me with the others." "The teenagers of your age? You mean the infirmary?" Mila smirked. "Very well. I will send you and your brother to the finest martial institution in the duchy, where the sons of nobles train. You may study there for 10 years. As for resources, I will provide 100 gold coins per month for each of you. Is that sufficient? I want to see what kind of fruitful future you will make." Caesar's jaw dropped. 100 gold coins a month. Even selling the hide of a level 14 beast, suitable for forging mid-grade weapons and armor, did not yield such wealth. "Haha, you did not disappoint me, Mila. Or rather, Aunt Mila. You won't regret this. Shameless. Who are you calling? And you're my age," Mila snapped. "Servants, take these 2 to the martial institution. Oh, and deliver this message to Uncle Felix there." Soon enough, Robin and Caesar arrived at the institution. Its high walls and imposing gate were enough to raise Robin's hopes and inspire a touch of awe in Caesar's heart. Bowing respectfully, the servant announced, "By order of Lady Mila Bradley, I bring a letter to Sir Felix Bradley, the distinguished head of this institution." 2 guards at the 10th level approached. After a brief exchange of questions, they escorted the three of them toward the head's office. On the way, Robin and Caesar busied themselves by looking around, trying to form a general idea of the place where they would be spending the next few years. The institution was vast and well organized. Robin noticed sections of large villas with backyards, areas of smaller buildings, and massive structures under heavy guard. After a few minutes, the five reached their destination, a medium-sized building protected by several high-level guards. After exchanging information, the two gate guards returned to their posts, while another guard stationed before the president's office took the servant's letter. "Wait here," he said, before disappearing inside. Moments later, he called, "Enter." The servant, having completed his duty, quietly withdrew. When Robin and Caesar stepped inside, they found the chief guard leaving, while behind the desk sat a middle-aged man with the appearance of a scholar. Smiling faintly, he waited until the guard departed and then spoke. "I'm curious. Who exactly are you? To receive a personal nomination from Lady Mila herself, along with such a generous monthly allowance." In response to the head of the institution, "Our names are Robin and Caesar Burton," Robin said calmly. "Lady Mila owes me, and this is how she chose to repay the debt. She is a truly generous lady." He saw no reason to conceal the truth. Since Mila had recognized him at first sight, hiding his identity was pointless. The Burton family name was widespread, and countless people had seen him before and were still alive today. Unless he completely altered his appearance, he could never hope to remain undiscovered, and there was no need to try. Mila owes you." Felix was stunned. His eyes swept over the boy in front of him, a mortal barely 12 who had not even reached the first level of cultivation. Scum among scum. No matter how he looked at him, or at the other boy beside him, he found nothing special. Still, he did not press the matter. Whatever the reason, if Mila had not explained herself, it was not his place to pry. "Very well," Felix said at last. "I will assign you the numbers 207 and 208. You may receive your student badges from the coordination office, along with the keys to your residences. You are expected to attend lectures daily at 10 in the morning." And here, he stamped several documents with his personal seal and tossed them toward Robin. "This paper will allow you to claim your monthly allowance from the treasury, either in coin or in cultivation resources, as you prefer." He then waved them off. Robin bowed lightly, Caesar followed, and together they left the office. Collecting their badges and keys went smoothly, and at the treasury Robin chose to exchange the full 200 gold coins for energy stones. From time to time, groups of students passed by. Each time, they burst into laughter at the sight of two mortals struggling under the weight of massive bags filled with stones, then moved on. This continued until Robin and Caesar finally reached their new homes. Inside house 207, Robin exhaled with relief. "It's been a long day, but finally we can start training properly," he said with a laugh as he moved to choose a room. Suddenly, there came a knock at the main door. Robin opened it to find a group of young men. Their leader was smiling at first, but when he saw that Robin was merely a mortal, the smile disappeared. "Go fetch your master." "I have no master. I am the owner of this house. Can I help you with something?" Robin replied evenly. "Owner? Don't waste our time, kid. Call your master." "That's right. If he's too arrogant to come out, at least tell us who he is." Robin waited patiently until they all finished. "Too bad. But I really am the owner here. What do you want?" "You? A mere mortal like you, claiming equal rights with us?" The young man's eyes widened in disbelief. "We heard 2 new students arrived. Don't tell me the other one is also a mortal? He's just like me. Is that a problem? We're a little busy, so..." Robin gestured toward the street, clearly dismissing them. "You!" The leader clenched his fists. "I don't know where you and the other piece of trash came from, and I don't care either. I am Remus, son of Marcus Rufus, so you had better show me respect. In fact, my residence has become a little cramped lately, and I've decided to take another one to use as a clubhouse for me and my noble friends. You don't mind if I take house 208, do you?" His lips curled in a cruel smile. Actually, I mind very much. Are you saying you want to resort to violence? Remus sneered, raising his fist. No, I just mind. If you insist on taking the house, I'll hand you the keys. Robin's tone was flat, while Caesar looked at him strangely from behind. Give me the keys. Remus narrowed his eyes. He didn't believe Robin would give in so easily. No ordinary mortal entered the institution. Even if Robin was powerless, Remus had expected at least some resistance. This request was only meant to test Robin's background. Here you go. Robin tossed the keys to him, then closed the door without another word, leaving the group outside stunned. Moments later, their mocking laughter filled the courtyard, followed by the noise of singing and revelry spilling from House 208. Caesar looked at him. You could have at least asked for some money in exchange. The house was not important. House 207 could easily accommodate both of them. And of course, he knew that they could not defend the house yet, so Robin acted normally, and it suited his style. He won't enter uncertain battles. Robin laughed. No, we may not need the house now, but we will definitely need it later. If I take some coins for it or say I'm willing to give it, I won't have any face to call it back. Let them have their fun for now. I'll send you to beat them up later and take it back for me. That all-seeing big brother said I'd discover some kind of patterns once I returned to the first level of energy cultivation. I'm so excited to get back there as soon as possible. I'm afraid we'll part ways here. Robin narrowed his eyes as he spoke. What? Part ways? What do you mean by that? Caesar was stunned, as if he had just heard the harshest curse in existence. Take your share of the stones and get upstairs, you idiot. Don't show me your face again until you break through to the first level. Robin kicked Caesar on the backside. Caesar froze for a moment, then burst out laughing, grabbed half the stones, and rushed upstairs. Thus, their training began. Although both had vast experience in cultivation techniques and shortcuts, they had not trained at all during their journey from the cave. Energy training and foundation building required calm, focus, and a safe environment. Now that they had reached such a place with ample resources, there was no need to hold back. A week passed, then 2. Breaking through to level 1 was supposed to be only the first step, the base upon which everything else would be built. Normally, it took months, sometimes years. But suddenly, a loud voice echoed from upstairs. Ha ha ha! I'm officially a cultivator again. I did it before you. Caesar shouted proudly. Though his faster progress was natural, he had once reached level 14, and he used the same technique that Robin had refined. He still felt triumphant at surpassing his father in something. Caesar jumped down from the second floor, ready to boast, but froze at what he saw. Robin was seated in meditation, his eyes glowing bright green, the space around him faintly distorted, almost illusory. What's happening? Did he already break through to the first level? No. Even reaching level 20 wouldn't cause something like this. Caesar muttered, taking a step back. But then he steadied himself and sat at the doorway, waiting anxiously. Days passed. 2, then 2 weeks, then 3. Caesar grew increasingly worried. This shouldn't be happening. Breaking through to the first level is something even children can do. After 2 more days, the glowing in Robin's eyes finally stopped. Then he smiled and stood up. Patterns, huh? Ha ha ha, patterns. Patterns. Robin said as he looked around with intense curiosity. He was in an ecstasy state. Whenever he looked around, he saw them, patterns within everything. Shapes etched into objects, sequences in movements, arrangements in the smallest details. Everything had a pattern that set it apart. The mirror before him bore lines and symbols across his reflection. The wooden planks of the bed displayed carvings within the grain. Even the wind itself moved in patterns that he could now perceive. After studying everything with growing wonder, Robin called, Caesar, come here. Caesar leapt up and hurried to him. Robin's glowing eyes examined his brother closely, and sure enough, patterns covered his skin. Robin even pricked Caesar's finger and meditated on the drop of blood. 2 revealed hidden patterns. The entire world had changed in Robin's vision. Everything carried its own designs, its own laws. He did not yet understand their essence, but he was certain. This was connected to the master law of truth. And if this was what he could see without anchoring his pillars in the law, what would happen when he truly did? In high spirits, Robin laughed. I'm starving. We should be into our second month by now. Let's collect our allowance and get a decent meal. They cashed their allowance from the treasury easily this time, taking it in coins instead of stones. After all, the first level required little energy, and they still had plenty left. Their stroll through the institution did not go unnoticed. Once thought mysterious, it was now clear they were merely at the first level. Compared to their apparent age, they were trash. Whispers, chuckles, and mocking laughter followed them, but Robin and Caesar were unfazed. Their experience kept them calm. Hey, Robin said with a grin. Have you ever eaten in a fancy restaurant before? How about we make today the first time? They asked around and soon found the largest restaurant in the area. To any onlooker, it looked like two boys on a simple outing. But Caesar noticed Robin's expression. His father looked around with wide, childlike eyes, as though seeing the world for the first time. Caesar didn't know the truth. For Robin, this was the first time seeing the world as it truly was. Inside, Robin drew stairs when he laughed loudly, examining a slab of mountain rhinoceros meat as if it were a priceless artifact. Oh, big brother, what are you doing? Caesar muttered, embarrassed but curious. What do you think I'm doing? Casually breaking down a few laws. Ha ha ha. Caesar nearly dropped his fork. Breaking down laws? But before he could ask, Robin tossed 2 gold coins on the table, stood, and walked out. Caesar hurried after him. Breaking down laws? What do you mean by that? Robin answered confidently. Since I reached the first level, I've been able to apply the laws I studied before. I see patterns in everything now. And from what I've observed, those patterns are the very laws that govern the world. You can see the laws with your eyes? Caesar was shaken to the core. Exactly. Robin smiled. Now let's buy some firewood. I'm going to have a long talk with the major law of fire. Ha ha ha. Caesar was left speechless. Seeing the laws themselves? To master a law, the first and hardest step was always to confirm its existence, to sense its truths, and to identify the key factors behind it. Only then could one develop a technique to control it. But Robin had erased that first hurdle completely. And if the second and third were just as easy for him, then the laws were no longer mysteries but open books waiting to be read. The thought made Caesar freeze in the middle of the road, overwhelmed. Robin only chuckled, turned back, and pulled him forward by the ears. Although the market was not far from the restaurant, Robin chose to take the longer route, looking around the entire way, astonished by everything. From time to time, he stopped to buy fruits or simple items, examining them with childlike excitement. The meal and the walk were simply opportunities for him to see more of the world through his new ability. About an hour later, the two arrived at the central market, and it was truly worthy of Bradley's Pearl City. Many times larger than Jur's Market, it sprawled with shops of all sizes and shapes. Guards and powerful experts roamed the streets like ants, while small merchants spread their goods on sheets across the ground, shouting loudly in hopes of earning enough to one day rent a proper shop. Robin also noticed several large platforms crowded with naked men and women of all ages, while announcers shouted their qualities and prices. Come closer. I have everything you want. The most beautiful and the ugliest of women, the strongest of men and the weakest of them. Whether your coin is little or great, you will not leave without a slave to satisfy your desires. It was clear these were the slave platforms. Robin paused in front of one, eyeing a boy slightly younger than himself, deep in thought. Then he nodded and walked away. When we return to the institution, he said, ask if it's permitted to keep slaves in our personal residence. If it is, find out the maximum number allowed per student. Caesar was baffled. Why would Robin even consider such a thing? They had always lived independently without help, least of all from slaves. But he only nodded, not daring to argue. Soon, They reached a massive store selling every type of wood imaginable. Robin bought small amounts of each kind. But the final pile was enormous. When the two stood before it, Caesar's jaw dropped. Robin gave him a meaningful look and gestured at the mountain of wood. Not a chance. Over my dead body, Caesar shouted, stumbling back. How the hell am I supposed to carry all of this? Are you trying to kill me? Robin shook his head. The youth of today are useless. Uncle, add a wooden cart as well. How much is the total? He handed over a gold coin and a few silver pieces for everything, then left with Caesar, who trudged along pulling the cart beside him. Back at the house, Robin sat downstairs before the sorted piles of wood. Caesar had neatly arranged each type into its own stack. Robin frowned in concentration. All right, I'll begin studying the major heavenly law of fire while training toward the second level of energy cultivation. Don't you dare come downstairs and disturb me, unless the house catches fire, in which case, put it out, or put me out. I trust you'll know what to do. Dismissed. Caesar chuckled and went upstairs. Left alone, Robin brought a handful of wood from the first pile, set it aflame and sat watching. Patterns shimmered in the flames, denser near the wood and fading as the fire rose. He did not move for days, until he had burned through the first pile. With a sigh of wonder, he shook his head. Before this, I was like a blind man wandering in a strange land. After eating, he resumed his cultivation. For 7 days he consumed energy stones, pushing himself halfway to the second level in a single effort. Then he returned to his experiments with the next pile of wood, which produced flames even more vivid than the first. Robin's purpose was simple, to test whether different woods produced flames with clearer patterns, or if all were the same. But when he lit the second pile while casually eating a chicken leg, his expression shifted from anticipation to shock. The patterns. They're different. No, that's not supposed to happen. What's going on? Robin muttered, leaning closer to the fire. Most of the patterns were the same as before, but a few were subtly different. How could the same law produce multiple sets of patterns? It was well known that each major law had countless branches called minor laws, and of course those branches carried distinct patterns. But this was pure fire. Not sparks, not heat, not melting or evaporation. The pattern should not change, or so he had thought. After a moment of disbelief, Robin thrust the chicken leg into the flames. As he expected, the surrounding patterns shifted again. He quickly got up to pick out small batches of all the wood and put them separately, then lit them all at once. Fetched his bedsheet, bread, papers, and a few other random items, then lit them separately as well. And in each pile the patterns were a little different. Impossible! The Flame Emperor could not have missed something so fundamental when he claimed mastery of the major heavenly law of fire. At best, his understanding came from observing fire's actions and truths over thousands of years. Outwardly, fire may appear the same, but what I see now denies that completely. Could it be that the fire law upon which the Flame Empire was built is incomplete? No, and not just that. What about the rest of the so-called completed major laws? Are they only relatively complete? The thought made Robin break into a sweat, perhaps from the towering flames licking the ceiling, but he chose to believe it was from tension and excitement. Is this what that all-seeing Big Brother meant, when he said the planet is still nascent, and that I should take things slowly as I observe the patterns? What a pressure! What a responsibility! What a thrill! Ha 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 ha, I've got the whole world to explore with no strings attached. When I'm done with it won't be nascent anymore. Ha ha ha, Robin said, jumping excitedly, as Caesar tried to rescue what was left of the living room. After Robin finished his hysterical laughter, and Caesar put out the fire, the two of them went back to what they were doing. Caesar was busy trying to break through to the second level before the end of the month, while Robin started lighting everything he saw in his way, then sit and watch. From that day on, Caesar's daily life changed drastically. His routine was no longer simply training, eating, and sleeping. Instead, it became training, putting out fires, purchasing supplies to replace whatever Robin had burned, monitoring his father's mental and physical well-being, then eating and sleeping, Robin's strange enthusiasm lasted for nearly 2 weeks. He even insisted on cooking his own food atop different heaps of burning metal each day, curious to observe how the flame's behavior shifted when exposed to various alloys, and whether the food itself would alter the fire's patterns. But soon, he realized such experiments could not reach their conclusion overnight. He adjusted his schedule, dedicating part of his day to energy training and ensuring he took longer hours of sleep. A few days before the Academy's second month ended, Caesar successfully broke through to the second level. This time, however, he didn't shout or boast in front of his father. Instead, he quietly pushed forward toward the third level, aware that Robin was absorbed in something far greater. His preparations with the major heavenly law of fire meant for him. At the start of the third month, Robin's voice echoed through the house. "Hey, Caesar! How's your room? Come on, let's have a little chat." Caesar blinked in surprise, but he set aside his training and descended immediately. "What did you find about the assignment I gave you concerning the slaves?" Robin asked. "I asked one of the guards. He said each student can bring up to 5 slaves into their residence within the institution, but the student is responsible for all their needs." 5? More than I expected. How much money do we have on hand right now? We haven't withdrawn this month's allowance of 200 coins yet, and we still have about 90 left from last month, after covering the cost of all the things you burned. Good. Go to the treasury and bring me 100 gold coins. Leave the other 100 aside for training resources. Be in front of me in 10 minutes, Robin ordered, pointing to the door. And indeed, within 8 minutes Caesar returned, a pouch of coins at his waist and a massive sack of stones across his back. Robin rose from his chair, glanced at him and said, Let's go." Then he strode out of the institution, Caesar following close behind. "Where are we going this time, Dad?" Although Caesar knew the answer, he asked anyway. "To buy a slave or 2. Why? We never needed slaves. I always take care of you. Am I failing you lately? I don't want you to take care of my needs anymore. Focus on being strong. Did you forget our deal so quickly? You should protect me. I just need someone to hand me pens and clean up what I break. That doesn't suit you, Sir Caesar." Robin laughed. In fact, there was another real reason for this, but he refused to reveal it before it was achieved so he wouldn't look like a fool if he failed, and not to frighten Caesar badly. Caesar fell silent, his father's words striking his heart. His determination to grow stronger deepened once again. Before long, they arrived at the slave platforms. Robin began walking slowly before them, examining each slave with an unsettling calm. Some even tried to cover their nakedness from the strange intensity of his gaze, but he only chuckled softly and kept moving. Robin was using the eye of truth to find out a few simple things like age, level of training, and even the strength of the soul, things like this that should have been impossible unless he was vastly more powerful than the target. But it became too easy for him to know those things about anyone just by looking. After nearly an hour of inspection, Robin halted before a particular young man. He was strikingly handsome, muscular, with long black hair falling across shoulders crisscrossed with scars, some of which looked as though they had nearly killed him. The Eye of Truth revealed. 17 years old, 5th level of energy cultivation, ordinary soul strength. By noble standards, he was slightly above average, and considering he was a slave, that was impressive. "How much for this one?" Robin asked the fat merchant standing atop the platform, shouting for buyers. The merchant turned with a broad smile, only for his face to stiffen when he realized it was 2 boys before him, both only at the 1st and 2nd levels of cultivation. "Are you 2 lost? Shoo, go on, or I'll throw you up there with the rest of the slaves." "You damned pig!" Robin's voice rang out, sharp and furious. "I asked politely, and that's your answer? Looks like you don't value your life anymore." He whipped out a badge, raising it high. It bore the emblem of the Bradley Army Institution. The fat man froze mid-motion, his whip still raised. His heart skipped a beat as he recognized the insignia. This boy is either the son of a noble, or under the direct protection of one. In an instant he dropped to his knees. "Forgive me, young master. Living among slaves has dulled my wit. I failed to recognize your greatness. How about I make amends with a 20% discount? His smile returned, slick and sycophantic. Tell me about this one, Robin said, pointing at the long-haired youth. That one? We call him the Mute. 17 years old, level 5, his tongue cut out. He was found during an expedition to the Dark Ruins. When they tried to rescue him, he killed 2 men at the 5th level and gravely wounded another at the 6th before they finally subdued him. He's versatile, capable of almost any kind of work, and would make a fine bodyguard for a young noble like yourself. You see, he's very special. Cost us dearly to capture him. His price is 100 gold coins. Caesar burst out, unable to hold back. 100. All the others are 5 to 10 coins. You greedy swine. You're trying to rob us. How could I dare, young master? I swear it's true. His combat ability is extraordinary. We lost 3 men subduing him. Selling him for less would be a great loss for me. Of course, you could always look at the rest of my collection and forget about this one. The merchant's laugh was oily and sly. Robin, however, had already scanned the rest. None matched this young man's potential. He had made his decision. The boy was worth the risk. A pouch containing 80 gold coins smacked against the merchant's face. The man accepted it reluctantly, inwardly cursing. That brat even remembered the discount. But in the end, he had only himself to blame. Robin cut a piece of cloth from the furniture on the stage and threw it at the young man to cover his body, then looked at him in the eye and said, "You are mine now." Seated on his favorite couch in House 207, Robin studied the Mute standing silently before him. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his tone measured yet piercing. "I don't know how you ended up in the Dark Ruins, nor why you lingered so long in such a place of death. But for someone who has learned cultivation techniques and even reached the 5th level, you clearly come from a background of some worth. You see, I paid a heavy price for you, and I don't intend to let that go to waste. However, I'll make you an offer. I'll grant you 1 month. Finish any unfinished business you may still have, then return to me. But I'll give you this warning in advance. If you are not standing before me within a month, I'll report you as a runaway slave. From that moment, every authority will hunt you down, and your death will be certain. What do you say?" The Mute's eyes widened. He had expected nothing good from his new master, certainly not such generosity. Even with the threat attached, this was an offer few nobles would ever make. After all, the slave purchase contract was in Robin's hands, and the merchant still held the original sale contract. A complaint from either party would unleash armies across borders to hunt him down. The laws protecting the slave trade were absolute, designed to keep the trade flourishing without disruption. If slaves could flee easily, or if they could rise in rebellion, the trade would have collapsed long ago. Instead, brutal laws and specialized military units dedicated to slave hunts kept the system intact. If a slave ever killed his master, the punishment was merciless. The culprit, every slave belonging to that household, and even their families would be executed, often impaled on wooden stakes as a warning. Without hesitation, the Mute dropped to his knees, hands pressed to the ground, and nodded firmly. It was an opportunity he had dreamed of, but never thought possible once he had fallen into chains. "Go!" Robin waved him off. "Be back before me in 1 month, or face the consequences yourself." The Mute nodded again, then turned and bolted away, afraid his new master might rescind the offer. "What do you think he'll do in that month, father?" Caesar asked, his eyes following the young man's bare back as he vanished into the streets. "I don't know," Robin said flatly. "Perhaps he'll visit family. Perhaps he'll hunt down the one who cut out his tongue. Whatever it is, I want his mind clear when I begin to use him." Caesar frowned, confused. What does his state of mind have to do with anything? Isn't he just here to help with your research? That's none of your business. And secondly, Robin suddenly leapt up, his foot landing squarely on Caesar's backside. "I told you never to call me father, not even when we're alone." 3 weeks slipped by swiftly. During that time, Robin broke through to the 2nd level of energy cultivation, while continuing his relentless study of the major heavenly law of fire. His research was finally beginning to bear fruit. He had spent days analyzing the ever-changing patterns of flame. For instance, fire burned differently on dry wood than on wood still heavy with moisture. It burned differently still on the trunks of plants that stored high concentrations of the light element. The fire didn't simply consume the material. It clashed with the other heavenly paths embedded within it, attempting to burn them away as well. That collision produced distortions, strange overlaps, and chaotic patterns within the flame. The real question was this: how could he produce a pure flame, one free of interference, in order to study the true essence of the fire law? After all, there was no such thing as independent fire in nature. Fire always needed fuel, something to ignite. Even cultivators of the fire path had to burn their own inner energy to call it forth. This puzzle remained the obstacle in his way. As Robin sat deep in thought, drafting plans for the coming months, the door creaked open. A tall, striking young man entered. His long black hair hung loose, his simple short clothes were soaked in blood, and a jagged stab mark was visible across the chest of his shirt. Yet his body bore no wound. It was obvious these garments had been stripped from a corpse. Robin glanced briefly at the mute's new attire, then turned back to the dancing flames before him. "I see you've finished your unfinished business." The young man moved silently, stepping forward to stand behind Robin in quiet acknowledgement. "Do you have a name you'd prefer me to call you? You can write it or point to something to explain." Robin poked at the grilled snake sizzling on the fire, adjusting it slightly. The youth hesitated, then shook his head. Robin couldn't tell if that meant he had no name, or if he despised the one he once bore. Either way, it didn't matter. "Fine. From now on, your name will be Theo." He plucked the name from the air without a second thought. "Go outside and bring me a handful of wood from every pile. Then head to the kitchen, you'll find papers, and the carcasses of beasts and animals. Cut them apart and stack them according to type. Then bring them here. Oh, and while you're at it, grab some salt. This snake smells delicious." Robin rattled off a string of commands. Theo remembered them all, and went about his work. Minutes later, everything was prepared, and Theo returned to stand behind Robin, awaiting further orders. But Robin glanced back with irritation. "What are you doing here? I want privacy." "Caesar, come here." "What is it, Fath? Big brother?" Caesar asked, leaping down from the upper floor. "Take Theo with you. Give him a proper bath. Then take him to the market, buy him clothes of his own, and let him choose a weapon. When you're finished, teach him my cultivation technique and guide him personally through the next levels." Both Caesar and Theo froze in shock. This was not treatment befitting a slave. Caesar still believed Theo's purpose was to assist Robin's research, so why invest in him like this? And Theo himself was stunned by the generosity, something he had never known. More astonishing still, Robin had tasked a 12-year-old boy, still only at the second level, to instruct him, a 17-year-old already at the 5th. "Why are you still standing there like fools? Haven't you heard your orders? Move!" Robin scooped several burning logs into his arms and hurled them at the pair one by one, driving them out of sight. But what was casual for Robin nearly shattered Theo's mind. The flaming wood hadn't scorched his master's arms in the slightest. Not a single mark marred his clothes. When Theo turned his gaze to Caesar, he found him laughing, not shocked in the least, as though this were perfectly normal. Theo's entire perception of the two shifted. These aren't just two children flaunting a powerful slave, he thought. No, they are something far more dangerous. Weeks slipped by quickly, blending into a routine that, in most respects, felt familiar. Even Theo adjusted to his new life, though it was nothing like what he had expected. Robin treated him almost the same way he treated Caesar. Theo's confidence grew by leaps and bounds after Caesar outfitted him with sleek black clothes and a pair of long daggers. At first, he had bristled at the thought of a child like Caesar being responsible for his training and guidance. But soon he realized how foolish he had been. Caesar's knowledge and experience far outstripped his own, despite Theo having spent much of his life surviving in the dark ruins. The cultivation technique Caesar taught him was nothing short of miraculous. With it, he could train at astonishing speed even without energy stones, simply by sitting in meditation and circulating the art. Within mere weeks, he was already brushing against the threshold of the 6th level. He had been stuck at the 5th for what felt like forever, yet this single technique multiplied his speed several times over. Theo's days quickly found their rhythm. Each morning he meditated, asking Caesar questions whenever he encountered difficulties. Then, in the afternoons, he helped Robin with his strange experiments. Whenever he noticed a woodpile about to burn down, he would replenish it with the same type of fuel, silently keeping the flames alive. He never tried to ask what Robin was doing. He didn't need to. Watching the man plunge his hand into fire without injury, or sit calmly on a burning heap of wood as if it were a cushion, was enough to convince Theo. This Robin was no ordinary man, and whatever he was doing was not a waste of time. So he carried out his tasks faithfully without complaint. There were perks as well. Theo never had to cook. Robin was constantly grilling day and night as part of his fire tests. All Theo needed to do was bring salt and spices, and Robin did the rest. As for Robin himself, his progress in the fire path accelerated. Though producing a truly pure flame was impossible, he discovered a promising direction. He realized that much of a flame's pattern remained constant regardless of the fuel, while the variable elements could be separated out through careful observation and reconstructed piece by piece. If a certain pattern shifted across most fuels but remained identical in 2 or 3, Robin marked that unchanged fragment as part of the true constant. Over time, he memorized the fundamental pattern of the major heavenly law of fire, the part that appeared in every burning thing, and began filling in the variable gaps with the constants he identified. Each time he uncovered a new constant, he rewarded himself with a few hours of rest. During these intervals, he quietly advanced his own cultivation, soon reaching the 3rd level of energy training. Meanwhile, Caesar practically lived in his room. Even the roasted meat Theo delivered was eaten quickly before he returned to his meditation. His obsession was paying off. In just 5 months, he had broken through to the 4th level. "Caesar, Theo, come here." Robin's voice boomed one day. In moments, the two stood before him. Caesar spoke first. "What do you need, big brother?" "As I recall," Robin said, tapping his fingers against his chair. "Today marks the beginning of our 6th month in the institution. How much money do we have right now?" "Our expenses have been light," Caesar replied. "Other than your fuels, Theo's daggers, and a few extra energy stones, we haven't spent much. We've got around 350 gold coins left." "Good. Take Theo with you, withdraw this month's 200, and add it to the total. That'll be enough to get you a proper weapon. Then head to the library and buy a martial art suited for that weapon. And get a dagger art for Theo as well." "Huh? But I've never used weapons in my life. My fists are enough. And Theo already knows how to use daggers. He doesn't need a scroll to tell him what he already does. Wouldn't it be better to spend the money on energy stones instead? The higher we go, the faster we'll burn through them." Caesar frowned, confused by his brother's decision. "You'll need a weapon to channel the major heavenly law of fire properly. Do you think you'll only fight dumb beasts forever? Choose something that matches your overwhelming style. And Theo, his fighting is reckless, a hit-for-hit gamble. That's not dagger mastery. It's suicide. Teach him properly. I won't waste my time on him just for him to throw his life away against some rat." The two exchanged a glance, then turned back to Robin. They nodded and left, surprised but also excited by the command. This marked the 2nd time Caesar and Theo went out together, a picnic of sorts, though hardly a joyful one. Their destination was the nearest weapon shop tied to the Bradley Military Institution. Caesar spent nearly half an hour browsing. Swords of every shape and size lined the racks. They were common, practical, and popular, yet none stirred anything in him. Dissatisfied, he kept searching. Bows, cleavers, hammers, and even iron fists. His eyes lit up at the sight of the iron fists, but Robin's words echoed in his mind. "You need a weapon that can channel the fire law." Iron fists were little more than his bare hands dressed in metal. Disappointed, he moved on until he came to the spears. Spears were ideal for channeling brute force at range, making them a strong candidate for wielding the fire law. But Caesar frowned. Something about them irked him. "Uncle," he asked the shopkeeper. "Spears are strong, but they demand too much precision. That doesn't suit me. Do you have something with the same reach but built more for raw strength?" "Oh ho! Then you're looking for a halberd," the man said, brightening immediately. "Not many youngsters are drawn to them these days. Come, I'll show you the collection." His tone was pleased. Halberds were among the shop's most expensive wares. Caesar had never even heard the word. But when he saw them, his eyes widened. Long like spears, but crowned with massive cleaver-like blades instead of pointed tips. Power and reach combined in one. He examined them carefully, then pointed to the thickest of the lot. "I'll buy this one." "Ha ha! Excellent young man. This halberd is the finest I have and naturally the most expensive. 120 gold coins. Too expensive," Caesar admitted. Then he smirked. "But I'll take it, if you throw in those 2 iron fists outside for free." "Deal!" The shopkeeper agreed instantly. Caesar left the shop smiling, halberd in hand, iron fists in tow. Theo followed at his side, both of them heading straight to the library to purchase their new martial arts. But when they finally returned home, both bore bruises and scrapes, and Caesar's halberd lay broken in 3 pieces. "What happened to you?" Robin leapt out from the piles of fire when he saw them. Bruises marred both faces. Caesar's right eye was swollen shut, while Theo's left arm dangled at an unnatural angle, blood dripping steadily from his fingertips. "What do you think?" Caesar muttered bitterly, tossing the broken halberd aside before grabbing water and bandages to tend his own wounds. Robin rushed to Theo, pulling at his arm to inspect the damage. The shoulder was dislocated, and deep cuts ran from his shoulder all the way to his fingers. Whoever had done this hadn't simply fought. They had taken their time, enjoying every moment of cruelty. "They used my own halberd to do it," Caesar said grimly, pressing wet cotton against his swollen eye. Robin instantly knew who he meant. The group of arrogant youths who had stolen House 208 from them. Since that day, they had harassed the brothers at every opportunity. The more Robin and Caesar stayed silent, the bolder their tormentors became. And after Theo joined them, it grew worse. Almost every trip he took outside ended with torn clothes and fresh bruises. To bully a slave was far easier than targeting 2 students wearing official badges, and tormenting the 3 of them together had become a sport for that pack of jackals. Robin had endured it in silence. Their current weakness demanded restraint. Instead, he had quietly increased Theo's quota of energy stones to heal faster, while Caesar clenched his teeth and trained harder, desperate to grow strong enough to retaliate. But now the smell of blood in the room was too much. For the first time in his life, Caesar felt killing intent from Robin. Not just anger, murderous intent, sharp and suffocating. So intense that Caesar's skin prickled and every hair on his body stood on end. He had always known Robin as calm, patient, immersed in study. He often forgot this man had lived more than a century amidst beasts, carving his way through endless slaughter. "Those sons of bitches. They've gone too far." Robin roared, his voice shaking the walls. "What next? One of you walks in missing a limb? Or dead?" His foot smashed against the door, kicking it wide as he stormed straight toward the house marked 208. He didn't even pause at the entrance. With a wave of his hand, the door erupted into smoke and ash, vanishing in an instant. Robin strode through the black haze and shouted, his voice like thunder, "Get out here, you damn pigs! You bastard, you wanna die?" Remus, the leader of the group, snarled. He shoved the girl off his lap and lunged at Robin, fist raised. But just as he swung, Robin's voice cracked through the air like a whip. "Touch me, and I'll report you to Lady Mila Bradley." Remus froze, his fist stopping just a breath from Robin's nose. "You're bluffing. How would trash like you know the #1 genius in the kingdom?" But his heart skipped. If Robin and Caesar truly were under Mila Bradley's nomination, Then their presence here, even as weak commoners, suddenly made sense. "He's lying," one of the lackeys shouted. "If he knew Lady Mila, he'd have begged her for help long ago. Right? Lady Mila is destined to become a sage. How could she waste her time on peasants like these?" Robin stepped forward, seizing Remus by the collar. His eyes burned as he hissed, "Maybe I'm lying. Do you want to find out? Go ahead. Lay a hand on Caesar or Theo one more time, and I'll report you immediately. Mila promised me a safe environment in this institution. Let's see how she reacts when she hears. You broke it. I've kept silent because I didn't want to trouble her again. But you test my patience every damn day. You pigs like to play games? Fine, let's play. How about a bet?" Remus's sneer faltered. "What kind of bet?" "The arena," Robin said coldly. "1 year from now, my brother Caesar will challenge all of you in the institution's arena. Whatever happens there, I'll accept. Win or lose, I won't report you. But whoever faces him and loses will compensate us in full. I'll sign a binding contract if you want. Until then, get out of our way." A chill swept through the room. Whether it was Mila's name hanging over their heads, or the ferocity of the boy standing before them, none of Remus's companions dared move. "I agree," Remus muttered at last. Robin released him, nodded once, and turned on his heel. He dragged Caesar and Theo out of the house, leaving the bullies frozen in uneasy silence. Only after a long pause did one of them scoff. "That Caesar's only at the 4th level. Does he really think he'll reach a level where he can beat us all in just 1 year? Does he think he's a god? Hee. If he wants to send his brother to die, who are we to object?" A girl snickered. To them, it was suicide. Every one of them was a noble, wielding powerful family martial arts. Their weakest was already at the 6th level. Their strongest, Remus, stood at the 10th level, having studied the laws for over a year as he worked toward forming his pillars. But Remus didn't join in their laughter. He sank back into his chair, brooding silently. In his mind, one thought circled endlessly. "I need to find a way to avoid Mila Bradley's wrath. After I kill that boy in the arena." Robin returned to his house and sank cross-legged into the fire. His eyes closed, his face calm, but Caesar, who knew him best, recognized the truth. His father was a volcano ready to erupt. "Weren't you a little impulsive?" Caesar muttered, unease creeping into his voice. "What can I do in 1 year? At best, I'll reach the 7th level." Robin's eyes snapped open, blazing with fire. He looked directly at Caesar and said, voice low and sharp as a blade, "Trust me. I'll make you strong enough to shove your broken halberd up his ass." 2 months passed since the incident. Caesar acquired a new halberd and purchased a halberd martial art from the institution's library for himself, along with a dagger art for Theo. From that day onward, both of them entered closed-door training. Even Theo was excused from assisting Robin in his experiments so he could focus entirely on cultivation alongside Caesar. In those 2 months, Caesar rose to the 5th level, and Theo broke through to the 6th. Both advanced steadily toward higher realms. But the true breakthrough came from Robin. Not because he had climbed to the peak of the 3rd level despite pouring all his focus into research, but because he had nearly completed the composition of the perfect pattern of fire. Building on his earlier theory, Robin painstakingly assembled scattered fragments into a seamless whole. Piece by piece, the true form of the major heavenly law of fire emerged before him, something that did not exist in nature itself. He had it, almost. Only one piece was missing. No matter what fuels he burned, this segment always shifted, a variable with no constant shape. After countless failed attempts, he finally exhaled in frustration and called out, "Theo, drop whatever you're doing and come here." Theo rushed in, with Caesar trailing out of curiosity. "I've hit a problem," Robin explained. "There's a fragment of the pattern that changes across every type of fuel. I can only resolve it by drawing from the strongest source of fire known to this world, volcanoes. Go find out where the nearest active one is. I'll head there today, and you're coming with me." His eyes then narrowed at Caesar, who was already trying to sneak away. "And you, what are you doing, bastard? Get back to training." A blazing bone shot across the room with pinpoint accuracy, striking Caesar squarely on the backside. That very day, Robin and Theo set out. Their destination: an active volcano 70 miles away, hidden in a jagged mountain range. Though distant, Robin's current cultivation level, coupled with his official identity card that ensured safe passage, allowed them to arrive by sunset the next day. Standing at the edge of the massive crater, Robin marveled at the molten lake within. "Wow, I've lived a long life, but this is my first time seeing a volcano. How magical." Theo, weighed down by a large pack, rolled his eyes. His expression clearly said, "How old are you really? You don't look a day over 13. With a sigh, he slumped down to rest, already thinking of tents and dinner. But Robin needed neither rest nor reflection. With a single glance, he scanned the entire fiery pattern within the volcano. The missing piece revealed itself at once. He sketched it onto a scroll, tucked it into Theo's pack, then clapped the boy's shoulder. "Let's go. We're heading back." Theo nearly fell over. "We just got here. At least let me breathe." He waved his arms and pointed at his aching legs in protest. "What kind of bodyguard are you?" Robin retorted. "Come on. Every minute matters." Without waiting, he started down the trail, forcing Theo to sigh and follow. A day later, they returned to house 207. Robin went straight to his room, instructing them not to disturb him under any circumstances. He was ready to begin. The time had come to translate the completed pattern of the major heavenly law of fire into a cultivation technique worthy of Caesar. But when he unrolled the scroll holding the missing fragment, he froze. The parchment was scorching hot, so hot it had melted through much of the pack around it. The realization hit him like thunder. The pattern itself was radiating power. Robin trembled. He had always committed patterns to memory, never drawn them. This time was different. He had sketched it because he knew he might never see a volcano again. And now, he discovered that drawing a heavenly pattern on a medium forced its essence into reality, releasing power in raw form. "On paper it only manifests as heat," Robin muttered to himself, eyes blazing with excitement. "But what if I inscribed it on something stronger? Something worthy? What would happen then?" It was a revelation, a doorway to an entirely new world. But he forced himself to calm down. That experiment would wait. For now, his focus had to be on finishing the fire law cultivation technique. 2 weeks later, Robin emerged from his seclusion carrying a tome nearly 600 pages thick. His eyes glittered with triumph. "Caesar," he called, "I've got a little toy for you." Caesar immediately abandoned his training and appeared before him. "What is it, big brother?" Robin's lips curled. "This book contains a cultivation technique unlike anything this world has ever seen. Flames in nature are never pure, they're tainted by what they consume. That's why the true form of fire is hidden, even from the flame emperor himself. But me, I've gathered the authentic, pure law. Theoretically, this flame can burn anything without resistance. It can even burn the laws themselves. You are the first person on this planet to inherit such power. Don't waste it. Don't you dare disappoint me." He pressed the massive book into Caesar's hands, then shut himself back inside his room. Not long after, the sound of Robin's peaceful snoring filled the halls, while outside, Caesar's ecstatic cry shook the house. It was the first time in more than a century that Robin allowed himself to sleep in true satisfaction. This technique was the crown jewel of his work, the culmination of a lifetime's obsession. Yet he knew deep down it was only the beginning. Robin slept for 2 days and 3 nights. When he awoke, he was in high spirits, especially upon finding Caesar coiled in his room, diligently practicing the technique. Strolling further, he came to Theo's chamber and found him testing his double dagger forms. "If you don't need seclusion right now, come with me," Robin said casually. "I feel like taking a walk." Theo sheathed his daggers and silently followed. As they walked, Robin's voice dropped, almost conversational. "Theo, you may not realize it yet, But the technique Caesar now trains in is the flawless first stage of the major heavenly law of fire, a technique unmatched in this world. And since you're my subordinate, I won't leave you weak. You'll be my next project. I'll give you 3 days. Decide which heavenly path you want to pursue. Then tell me. I'll craft you a cultivation technique based on its major law. Go to the library, read about the paths, study the laws. Pick whichever resonates with you. All I need is the name. I'll handle the rest. Boom. The words detonated in Theo's mind. A perfect major law technique? I can point to any heavenly path, and he'll hand me its perfected scripture? His thoughts spun wildly. He wasn't ignorant. He knew what a major heavenly law meant. And Robin wasn't just offering him one. He was offering him a flawless version. Until this moment, Theo still thought of himself as a slave bound to Robin and Caesar. But Robin's words elevated him. No longer a mere servant, but a true follower, someone valued, someone being raised to stand shoulder to shoulder with Caesar himself. While Theo reeled in awe, Robin chuckled. Well, you're not much of an assistant anyway. No harm in buying another one who can actually do the job. It was only then Theo noticed where they were standing. His stomach sank. They had arrived at the slave platforms. Robin had not bought Theo to help with his research, and he would not purchase his next slave for such a reason either. He had a far greater goal in mind, one that, if achieved, could reshape the entire world. He moved slowly among the slave platforms, examining each individual as he had done before, but soon disappointment clouded his face. None fit what he sought. Robin's requirements were simple on paper, yet difficult in reality. A young man or woman who had not yet formed their pillars, but who possessed a decent cultivation base. Someone not older than 20, with at least above-average soul strength to aid in rapid progress. But such youths were never on these platforms. Those with talent were nurtured by noble families or wealthy commoners. What would such people be doing among slaves? Now and then, Robin spotted boys or girls who barely met his criteria, raised since childhood to be sold at high prices as promising slaves. But their eyes told the truth. Lifeless, submissive, broken. They had been shaped for obedience, not growth. And that was not what Robin wanted. His steps carried him once more to the familiar platform of the fat merchant. The man was far wiser now than to provoke him. After all, Robin had once spent 80 gold coins on a single slave here, making him a prized customer. Hee, welcome back, my lord. Looking for something special today? Perhaps I can arrange it for you? The merchant simpered, rubbing his hands eagerly. Robin ignored him, scanning the line of slaves until his gaze fell on a scarred youth. Around 15 years old, 6th level of cultivation, soul strength average. But his background was immediately clear. This was no commoner. His face was badly scarred, nearly unrecognizable, and his left arm had been severed at the shoulder. Robin's eyes narrowed with curiosity. The merchant quickly supplied the story. He's Peon, eldest son of Baron Camden of the Lying Water Kingdom. Their lands were raided, his family slaughtered, and he was captured and sold. If my lord is looking for strong attendants like the mute, I recommend taking him as well. Robin studied him in silence, then nodded. I'll take him. How much? Ordinarily, a youth like him would fetch 200 gold coins. But with his body damaged, I'll part with him for 90. Deal, Robin said. It was a fair price for such potential, even missing an arm. Peon's face twisted at the words. His noble pride still rebelled at the thought of being sold, especially to a master who looked younger than himself. Yet he forced himself to kneel and cry out, My lord, if you will buy me, then please, I beg you, buy my little sister as well. I'll share my food with her. She can sleep wherever you allow. She'll cost you nothing more than her price, and I'll repay even that if you give me the chance. She is the only reason I've not ended my own life. Robin waited for him to finish, then turned to the merchant. Where is this little sister? The fat man's eyes gleamed. If only all the slaves could sell each other this way. A girl of 8 years, barely at the 2nd level of cultivation. She's in the warehouse. Shall I bring her for my lord to see? Only 8? Bring her. I'll decide. 10 minutes later, a guard returned carrying a small girl by the arm. She was beautiful, delicate, with wide, innocent eyes that could melt any heart. Robin's gaze lingered, not on her looks, but on the overwhelming strength of her soul. Far above average. Nearly at my own level. I'll take her too. Both for 95. That's too little, the merchant protested quickly. She's beautiful. An old man would pay 20 gold coins or more just for her. 100 for the pair, not a coin more, Robin said coldly. Don't treat me like a one-time customer. It's clear your platform has what I need. We may do more business in the future. The merchant groaned dramatically but was inwardly elated. Sigh. Very well, wait here. I'll fetch the contracts. He scurried away, eager to finalize the deal before Robin changed his mind. The little girl, Zara, stood bewildered, unable to process being sold. She watched as her worth was haggled over like cattle, until she spotted her brother. She broke into tears and leapt into his arm. His scarred face was hardly recognizable, yet she knew him instantly. Don't worry, Zara, Peon whispered, stroking her hair. Our master bought you at my request. We'll stay together. Whatever comes, we'll face it side by side. Zara's eyes widened. Really? You'll stay with me? I thought. Her voice broke. She had expected torment or death. And we'll endure together, Peon promised with a tired smile. He still didn't know what kind of man their new master was. Robin's voice cut through their reunion. Save your tears for later. Continue your meeting at your new home. He accepted the contracts from the merchant, handed over the coins, and walked away with his new acquisitions. Back at house 207, Robin sat in his favorite chair. Theo stood silently behind him, while before him knelt Peon, scarred and one-armed, with Zara clinging to him. Don't be afraid, Robin said calmly. I'm a man of research. I need followers to handle what I cannot. That's all. I won't mistreat you. Really? You won't treat us like my father treated his slaves? Zara asked innocently. Though still young, she knew all too well how slaves, especially girls, were abused. Robin smiled faintly. Of course not. Look at my face. Do I look like the cruel type? Yes, Zara answered firmly. Ahem. Whatever. Robin coughed, turning to Peon. Do you have unfinished business? I can permit you a month or two of freedom, but your sister will stay here. Peon lowered his head, thinking, then shook it. No, the Camden family is gone. I lack the strength to avenge them. It's enough to stay with my sister in peace. I like that acceptance, Robin said. Then listen. Behind me stands Theo, once a slave like you, bought from the same merchant. Look at him now. I'll treat you the same. All I require is that you train hard and grow strong. Theo will teach you the energy cultivation technique I created, then take you to buy clothes for you and your sister. He'll also help you choose a new weapon suited to your condition. Afterward, go to the institution's library and purchase a martial art for that weapon. Robin tossed Theo a bag of coins and his student badge. Before Peon could speak, Robin turned to Zara. As for you, little one, I can't bear to push you as hard as these monsters. Instead, let's make a deal. Help me with my research, hand me what I need, and in return, I'll personally give you training advice. How's that? He leaned back. Choose any empty room in the house for the two of you. I won't separate you, but I expect you both to work hard for me. Peon's throat tightened. He pulled Zara to kneel beside him. Thank you, my lord. We will live at your service. That same day, Theo took Peon into the city to shop for clothes and basic necessities for him and his sister. Peon made no difficulties. He accepted whatever Theo handed him, never asking for anything special. He had already begun to resign himself to his new reality as a slave, afraid that if he appeared demanding, his new master's favor would vanish. Yet there was one request he voiced clearly. A mask. A simple, cheap mask to cover the ruined face he could no longer bear to show. Theo obliged, buying him a black cloth mask that concealed everything but his eyes. Eyes heavy with grief, and glimmering with cruelty. Then came the matter of a weapon. Pion's weapon of choice had once been the broadsword. That was no longer possible after the loss of his left arm. But his instincts guided him quickly. A light sword with a short hilt, ideal for one-handed combat. With weapon in hand, Theo took him next to the institution's library to purchase a martial art suited for the light sword. Pion browsed the scrolls in silence, while Theo waited absent-mindedly by the entrance. Robin's words from that morning echoed in his head. Could he truly master a major law? Like the emperors and their dynasties? Less than half a year ago, he had been a naked slave on a platform, waiting to be sold like livestock. Now, Robin was offering him the chance to touch powers that could overturn kingdoms. It was too much, too fast, too good to be true. He lingered in that daze until the sharp sound of Pion's fingers snapping brought him back to the present. 2 more days slipped away like water. Robin had personally begun teaching little Zara the energy cultivation technique. He added simple lessons she adored, drawing. Though his teaching was unexpectedly harsh, especially when it came to precision in circles and curves, Zara loved every moment. She didn't understand why it mattered so much, but she didn't care. To her it was fun. "Theo, come here," Robin's voice called out. Theo, busy instructing Pion in the basics of his new training method, quickly obeyed. He entered to find Robin bent over drawings with Zara. Robin looked up. "The 3-day deadline is over. Have you decided which path you want?" Theo nodded. "Good. Then show me. Damn it. I really need to start teaching you to write." Robin muttered. Theo hesitated, then walked to a nearby candle and blew it out. Robin raised an eyebrow. "The law of extinguishing? That's only a minor law." Theo shook his head sharply, then pointed around the room. "Darkness?" Robin asked. Theo nodded heavily. "Darkness, The major law of that path isn't famous for its combat strength." "Are you certain?" Theo fell into silence for a moment, then nodded again. Robin leaned back. "Living so long in the dark ruins has left its mark on you. Very well. I'll see what I can do." His mind was already whirring with plans to extract the perfect pattern of the major law of darkness. "Big brother Robin, I can teach brother Theo to write if you want." Zara piped up, her voice bright. As a baron's daughter, she had received a refined education and was more than capable of teaching letters and script. More than that, she wanted to be useful, to contribute something to earn her new master's approval. Robin chuckled, patting her head. "Good. That'll save me time. But remember, drawing lessons come first. You can teach him to write in your spare hours." Zara blinked. Drawing again? She had finally found something meaningful to do, but her master still insisted on colors and lines as though they mattered more than words. Confused, yet secretly delighted, she nodded. Life under Robin was already far different from what she had feared. 8 months passed in a blur. Only 2 months remained until the appointed day of the duel. Caesar had all but vanished into seclusion. His meals and energy stones were pushed beneath his door each day, and the only sign of life was the waves of heat that occasionally radiated from his room. Pion had risen to the 7th level, steadily advancing toward the 8th. Theo had climbed even higher, reaching the very peak of the 7th and poised to break into the 8th at any moment. Even little Zara astonished them all, racing to the peak of the 4th level. Robin himself had advanced as well, now at the top of the 4th level. But none of his followers underestimated him. His true power lay not in muscle, but in mind. Only a month earlier, he had completed the extraction of the first stage of the major law of darkness. He was now refining it into a cultivation technique Theo could truly grasp. The law of darkness, a power so obscure that even its minor aspects were barely understood, while the major law itself remained utterly unknown. Yet this boy, who outwardly looked no older than 13, had unearthed its perfect pattern. It had not come easily. Unlike the fire law, the darkness law demanded extreme conditions. Robin had descended into caverns, dug deep pits in his own courtyard, even had Theo bury him beneath the earth to simulate true darkness. Only then had he been able to trace its elusive form. It had taken longer. It had tested him harder, but the reward surpassed his expectations. After a month of seclusion, Robin emerged at last, eyes gleaming, a thick tome in hand. "Theo!" he called. Theo rushed to him, both eager and trembling with anticipation. "Congratulations," Robin said, tossing the book to him. "At first I thought the law of darkness would amount to nothing more than hiding in shadows. But I've uncovered far more. Abilities of stealth at any hour, swallowing power, dark corrosion. Whether or not you intended it, you chose well." The tome was over 700 pages thick. "The path won't rival fire in direct combat," Robin continued. "But as the foundation for an assassin, it's perfect." With that, he turned back toward his chambers, already preparing to reward himself with days of sleep. Theo stared down at the book as though it were a chest of treasures. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. To anyone watching, it would have seemed as if he held a relic of the heavens themselves. And perhaps he did. After rewarding himself with 2 full days of uninterrupted sleep for completing the major law of darkness, Robin finally emerged from his room with a long yawn. It's been a while since I slept this well." "Good morning, big brother," Zara said brightly, rushing to greet him with a smile. "Good morning. How's your drawing practice going?" Robin asked, returning the smile. "It's not bad. What are you going to do today, big brother? Is there something I can help you with?" "I don't know." Robin scratched his head. "Whenever I finish a big piece of research, I feel empty." Zara stood quietly at his side, waiting for orders. Though Robin told her to call him Big Brother, she had not forgotten her status. "Never mind, I'll go for a walk in the market. You can go back to your drawing. Peon, bring all the money we have and come with me. We're going shopping." Robin's first destination was a familiar one, the restaurant he had visited after his first victory. Without realizing it, celebrating his achievements with a hearty meal had become a habit. He and Peon were still eating when voices from a nearby table caught his attention. "The spirit revitalizing pill is amazing. Gives me an extra hour or 2 of work every day. Haha. Didn't I tell you? They say if you want to shine in your field, you must sacrifice sleep. That's what the pill does. Literally. Even if you're about to collapse, 1 dose clears your mind for 2 hours. Though I thought its effects would be better for the price. Not at all. 20 gold coins for 2 hours of productivity is cheap. You can earn back far more than that if you're finishing important work." Robin's ears perked up. His chopsticks froze midair. The 2 speakers looked like weak cultivators, 2nd or 3rd level at best, yet they sat comfortably in this expensive restaurant and spoke of gold coins with ease. Clearly, they belonged to large families, untalented in cultivation but gifted in politics or the arts. But Robin wasn't interested in them. His focus locked on the pill they mentioned and its outrageous price. 20 gold coins for 2 hours? That's more than the monthly allowance I once received in the Burton family. He smirked. "Come on, Peon. I found our next goal." On the streets, Robin asked for the largest pill shop in the city and soon arrived at its grand entrance. "Welcome, young master. How may I assist you?" A neatly dressed girl asked with a polite bow. "I'd like to know more about the spirit revitalizing pill," Robin said with a smile. "I heard from a friend it's quite effective." "An excellent choice. The spirit revitalizing pill is made with a blend of natural herbs, the primary ingredient being ginseng leaves aged 20 to 30 years. All components are natural and leave no harmful effects on cultivation or mental health." Robin cursed inwardly. Of course it doesn't cause harm. It's nothing but crushed plants. What's the difference between swallowing this and drinking herbal tea? Ahem. And what about its effects at different levels of cultivation? He asked. The girl explained patiently. The pill is most effective for those below the 3rd level, granting an extra hour or 2 of wakefulness without fatigue. It is popular among young cultivators and politicians who need longer training or working hours. For those between the 4th and 6th levels, it offers less. Such cultivators can already resist sleep for 2 or 3 days, but the pill still provides mental clarity, especially valuable when attempting breakthroughs. The price is just 20 gold coins per pill. Robin's eyes narrowed. Lovely. I'll take 10. The girl's eyes lit up as she rushed to fetch a bottle of 10. So he's not just another poor boy looking for a chat with pretty attendants. Robin wasn't finished. Any other pills worth noting? Of course. There are elemental affinity pills. Pills that increase a person's compatibility with one of the 5 natural paths. For example, fire pills are made of fiery herbs gathered near volcanoes. Each one costs 200 gold coins. But their effect diminishes as the cultivator rises in level, becoming almost useless beyond the 11th. 200 gold coins to increase affinity a little? Robin nearly shouted. So eating water herbs helps you comprehend the law of water? Ridiculous. At most, these speed comprehension by a few days. He quickly composed himself. And next, then we have healing pills. Their effects and prices vary according to purity and ingredients. The cheapest we sell is 100 gold coins. It increases natural healing by 20% for 5 days. The most expensive currently in stock costs 2,000 gold coins. It boosts recovery speed by 60% for 10 days. Robin froze. 2,000 coins? For healing in 6 days instead of 10? Completely useless in a life or death battle. If I have days to recover, why not just wait? What idiot pays such prices? Anything else? He asked flatly. There are many more types, young master. But for someone of your age and stage, you may be most interested in compressed energy pills. They're quite costly, but they grant the user instantly the energy equivalent of a week of continuous training. Their effectiveness fades with higher cultivation, disappearing entirely at the 12th level. Still, they're invaluable for those attempting breakthroughs. Robin sneered inwardly. Again, useless. Whoever can afford such pills is already beyond the 12th level. Only now did he understand why the Burton family and even the Bradley institution rarely relied on pills. Thank you for your time. Here's your account. Robin tossed her a pouch of 200 coins, collected his 10 revitalizing pills, and left, his mind racing with possibilities. On the way home, only one thing distracted him. A beast shop, its entrance draped with carcasses and hides. Red-horned rabbits dangled by their ears. Robin pointed. Bring me 10 red rabbits from the ones over there. The fattest ones. 2 months slipped by in silence. Robin spent them teaching Zara how to draw, while refining his own skills at the same time, and consolidating his cultivation. With Theo in closed-door training to absorb the major law of darkness, the burden on Peon increased sharply. He became responsible for food, supplies, and fetching rations from the treasury. Yet, as the days passed, Peon began to feel at ease in this new life. Realizing his master bore no ill intent toward his sister, and treated them both with dignity, he gradually let go of his anxiety. Instead, he resolved to serve faithfully. But today was different. Today, Peon was busier than ever. Not only him, the entire institution simmered like a pot about to boil over. For this was the day. Exactly 1 year ago, Remus and his companions had pushed too far, provoking Robin's group until Robin snapped. In that moment, Robin had thrown Mila Bradley's name into the open, declaring that his younger brother, Caesar, would challenge Remus and his entire group 1 year later. The news spread like wildfire. Anything involving Lady Mila spread. Gossip from the group's own members carried the story through the institution within days. Since then, no one had dared harass Robin's household. Not out of respect, but because everyone was waiting to see the spectacle. They all wanted to watch Caesar die. Even Mila herself had heard the news, sneering. He dared to buy himself a whole year by using my name. Does he think I'll intervene to save his brother just because he invoked me? Robin had irritated her terribly in their last meeting, making her feel like a small, ignorant girl before him, as if he had taken advantage of her. Now she saw this as the perfect chance to humiliate him. Knock, knock, knock. Robin tapped on Caesar's door. Are you ready? The door creaked open for the first time in 10 long months. Caesar emerged, a gleaming halberd in one hand and a fragment of his shattered halberd in the other. He looked taller, sharper, harder than before, and his aura spoke louder than his appearance. He had reached the 8th level. From a powerless mortal to the 8th level in barely a year and a half. The sheer pressure radiating from him made Peon, watching from behind, stiffen in awe and unconsciously step back. It was the first time he had seen the one he had been delivering food to all these months. "Ready," Caesar said simply. "I trust you will not disgrace me. You will not disgrace the perfect major heavenly law of fire. And you will not disgrace yourself," Robin said, nodding. Without another word, he turned and walked out, Caesar and Peon following. Behind them, Theo remained locked in his seclusion, while Zara returned to her drawings. The main square of the institution held a massive circular stage, 50 meters across, surrounded by stands with room for over 1,000 spectators. Professors often used it to demonstrate techniques for students. Even the head of the institution sometimes gave lectures here. It was also where student duels took place. Normally, they were friendly exchanges. But grudges could be settled here too, if both sides signed a contract waiving the institution's responsibility. For days, the head of the institution had been waiting for a letter from Lady Mila to cancel the fight. It never came. Even when he sent a guard to ask, her response was icy. "That little bastard hasn't begged me for his life yet. Wait until his brother loses a limb or nearly dies, then stop the fight." And so the stage was set. The stands overflowed with professors, students, guards, and even slaves. A professor stood in the center as referee, holding the signed contract of responsibility waiver. Nothing remained but the arrival of the fighters. "Haha! I'm honored that my humble duel has drawn so many fellow disciples and professors. I promise you won't be disappointed," Remus bellowed as he strode onto the stage. Behind him came his 4 young men and 3 young women. His group of nobles, children of barons and counts. They seated themselves on the stage, waiting with feigned calm for the challenger. Though they tried to appear relaxed, unease gnawed at them. Smearing Mila Bradley's name in such a low-level duel had been dangerous from the start. Their only goal now was to crush Caesar quickly and quietly. Then the murmurs began. "Look, Robin's group has arrived." Everyone turned as Robin approached, flanked by Caesar and Peon. At first the professor on stage welcomed them lightly, but his words caught in his throat. Uncle Brown, Mila's representative, leaned forward, and the head of the institution nearly bolted upright. Shock rippled through the professors, then the students. "What the hell is going on?" A confused junior in the stands asked. "Brother, why are you all so surprised?" The senior beside him never looked away from Caesar as he whispered, "Caesar, he's at the 8th level." The words struck like thunder. Impossible! He was just a mortal when he entered a year and a half ago. 8 levels in 18 months? That's not human. It's monstrous. My God! Have I been cultivating wrong all this time? Wait, the 8th level at 13 years old? Isn't that even faster than Lady Mila? No one knew who said it, but the words cracked across the square like lightning. But Lady Mila started training at 2 years old, while Caesar was just a mortal until a year and a half ago. Someone murmured the truth on everyone's minds. Uproar followed. Even the professors rose to their feet, unable to believe what they were seeing. Even Robin's reached the 5th level, someone noted. But that thought was swept aside instantly. Compared to Caesar's meteoric rise, Robin was an afterthought. Amidst the chaos, Caesar drove his halberd into the ground. The shock stilled the crowd. Then, in one smooth motion, he vaulted onto the stage, standing tall in its center. His halberd gleamed, his aura pressed down like a storm. This aura, it isn't supposed to belong to someone of the 8th level, one professor whispered, shaking his head. My God! Are we witnessing the birth of an absolute genius? Tell Lady Mila what's happening here. Felix Bradley, head of the institute, barked at Brown Bradley beside him. Brown gave a curt nod and urgently dispatched a guard. On the stage, silence reigned. Caesar leveled his halberd at Remus and uttered a single word. Come. The word snapped Remus back to reality. Do you think reaching the 8th level makes you my equal? The energy level is not everything. You advance too quickly, you clearly lack real combat experience. Against me, even at the 6th level, you should stand no chance. Come and test those words, Caesar replied flatly. You're overestimating yourself. Brother Remus, leave him to me. I'll grind his face into the stage. One of the youths in the group burst out, unable to contain himself. Go then. Kill that brat for me? Remus sneered, patting his shoulder. The youth vaulted onto the stage with a flourish. If I don't finish you within 5 attacks, I'll throw away my great name, Bori. I don't care about your name, Caesar said, voice calm but eyes gleaming. But I'll stake my life in the contract. If I win, you'll owe me 5,000 gold coins. Do you dare? He smirked inwardly. Easy money delivering itself to my doorstep. Bori hesitated for only a few seconds before answering. Agreed. A murmur rippled through the crowd. 5,000 gold coins, a fortune even for noble bloodlines. The referee quickly inscribed the wager into the contract, had both parties sign in front of everyone, then leapt clear of the stage. Begin! Caesar's face twisted into a cruel smile. He let his aura pour out like a tide. Come, my precious 5,000 gold coins. Show me how you'll defeat me in 5 strikes. Bori stiffened. For a moment it felt as though Caesar's frame swelled, his presence towering. He was no longer a boy but a lion, and Bori no more than a rabbit before him. The killing aura, sharpened by 26 years of survival among beasts, stabbed straight into his heart. He cursed himself for stepping up first, but with no retreat left, he roared and charged, broadsword thrust forward. Humph! Caesar's snort carried the weight of contempt. He raised his halberd with one hand, waiting until Bori crossed into range. Boom! A flash of white split the air as the halberd descended. In a single instant, the blade sheared Bori's broadsword clean in half, then bit 5 centimeters into the stone floor, leaving charred scorch marks along the edges of the gash. Before Bori even realized what had happened, Caesar's fist slammed into his nose, crushing his face inward and sending him hurtling off the stage. Silence. Absolute silence. This wasn't a duel of equals. It was a predator toying with prey. And that halberd strike, white flame still licking at the ruined stage, etched itself into every spectator's mind. Hee hee. So this is the power a perfect major heavenly law carries. Robin chuckled under his breath, while Peon stared wide-eyed, as though seeing a god descend to earth. I've been living under the same roof as this monster? From start to finish, Caesar hadn't moved from his spot. It had ended in a single second. He reset the halberd upright at his side and spoke softly. Who's next? This time, there was no mockery from Remus's group, only fear. This wasn't the fight they had imagined. They were supposed to be the predators, not the prey. Their plan had been simple. Humiliate Caesar in front of everyone, let Mila appear at the peak of drama, then use the chance to approach her. And if she didn't show, kill the boy and erase the stain of his lie. But now, did Caesar even need Mila to appear? Damn it. Retreating from someone 2 levels lower and years younger? I'd never raise my head again. Remus clenched his teeth, forcing himself to calm. Even if he's strong, he can't possibly leap 2 whole levels to fight me. He knew no one else from his group would step forward again. To waste more pawns was to lose more face. So he leapt onto the stage himself. I admit you're strong. Out of respect, I don't intend to kill or cripple you anymore. Let's make this a friendly duel between rivals. Rivals? You think too highly of yourself. Caesar shook his head. Remus's jaw tightened. Don't push me too far. I won't sign a contract permitting death or crippling. Anything else is negotiable. So anything short of killing or maiming is fair game. Fine. Let's sign it word for word. Remus's stomach turned cold. It was a trap, but one he had no choice but to walk into. He signed. Begin! The referee barked. Hi-ya! Remus lunged, broadsword flashing. Caesar shifted into a more serious stance, meeting the strike head-on. Wait! Aren't those the basic halberd forms from the library handbook? A professor muttered. His words drew others' attention. When they saw it was true, sighs spread through the stands. The boy was using the cheapest, most common halberd techniques, movements anyone could purchase with coin. How could such trash contend against a noble's heir? The duel stretched to a full minute. Blades clashed 100 times, yet neither side gained ground. For Remus, this alone was a victory. He had not been crushed instantly like Bori. Laughing, he roared, "Ha ha! You're better than I thought. But this ends now. I haven't even used my secondary law yet. Once I do, the fight is mine." He retreated, closed his eyes, and sparks began to dance across his broadsword. It's the secondary heavenly law, fire shards, the newest, most coveted law discovered by His Majesty himself. An onlooker cried. Marcus Rufus truly dotes on his son. Excitement rippled through the crowd as crimson fragments multiplied around Remus's sword, heat washing over the arena. When his preparation was complete, Remus opened his eyes and laughed. "You let me finish condensing it? Are you overconfident? Or just an idiot?" "Neither," Caesar answered coolly. "I just don't want anyone saying I bullied you when I unleash my own law." "What?" The cry erupted across the stands. Even the main dais quaked with disbelief. Caesar's words were simply too outrageous. Theoretically, anyone below the 10th level could attempt to study a law, but it was folly. They would waste years for nothing, unable to grasp even the basics. That was why no sane cultivator, genius or not, touched law cultivation before the 10th level. The only sensible path was to raise one's energy swiftly. Then, once the foundation was solid, pursue the heavens. But Caesar had just claimed mastery. That meant he had already comprehended at least 60% of a law's first level. Something that should take years of grinding at the 10th. Yet here he was, only a year and a half into cultivation, standing at the 8th level, and wielding law comprehension. One word filled every mind present. Monster. You cheat. It's impossible for you to wield a law. And even if you did, it must be some weak, useless branch. Do you dare flaunt it before me? Remus shouted, face twitching. I suppose we'll see when you attack, Caesar answered, voice calm, eyes unwavering. You, hyena. Remus could no longer contain himself. With sparks flying from his blade, he charged. Caesar no longer concealed his strength. He lifted his halberd, and an intense white flame burst outward, expanding into a blazing circle 2 meters wide. In an instant, everything within that ring was scorched. The tiles, the insects, even the very air shimmered and burned. Then, just as suddenly, the fire withdrew, climbing the shaft of the halberd until it condensed around the blade. Silent, still, like a candle's flame but blinding white. Gasps rippled through the crowd. This was the same glow that had shattered Bori in a single strike. Back then it had been too fast to see. Now, even staring at it directly, they still could not fathom what it was. Remus himself froze in shock. But pride shoved him forward. With a scream, he brought his sword down with all his might. Caesar met the strike head-on. Boom! The collision detonated like thunder. A shockwave ripped across the arena, so hot the referee was forced to raise a barrier to protect weaker students. The weapons locked for 3 long seconds. To Remus, it felt like 3 eternal hours. His treasured sword, one of the finest a young noble could wield, was melting. The white fire was eating through steel as if it were wax. And not just the sword. His eyebrows and hair singed from the heat, though he hadn't even touched the glow. Worse, his own fire shards technique, the sparks erupting from his blade, winked out the moment they touched that white flame. This thing, it burns fire itself. Impossible! Remus screamed, stumbling back in horror. But Caesar pressed, halberd swinging again. Blow after blow forced Remus into retreat. After 2 more clashes, his sword split clean in half. A lick of the white fire grazed him, burning through armor, clothes, and a thick layer of skin across his chest. Arg! Get away from me! Remus collapsed to his knees, shrieking. Caesar drove his halberd into the ground, then gestured toward Peon. Peon instantly understood. He tossed Caesar the broken halves of his first halberd, the very weapon Remus had used to torment Theo. Caesar caught the jagged piece and stalked forward. What are you going to do? I'm the son of Marcus Rufus. Break the contract and you'll regret it. Remus stammered, voice thick with panic. Relax, Caesar said, lips curling into a cruel smile. I haven't forgotten. I can't kill or cripple you. Right? Terror swallowed Remus. He screamed for help. Stop him. Someone stop this savage. But no one moved. Not the professors, not the students, not even the referee. All feared becoming Caesar's enemy. The referee looked desperately to Felix Bradley. But Felix only shook his head, eyes cold. The message was clear. Even if Caesar kills him, I will stand behind him. What happened next froze every heart. Caesar seized Remus by the throat and lifted him off the ground. His voice thundered across the silent arena. Is bullying fun? Maybe I could have forgiven you if you'd only targeted me. But you made one mistake. You touched my big brother. He spun Remus around, then, with brutal force, rammed the broken halberd shaft up his rear. Ah! Remus's scream tore through the sky before he collapsed unconscious, consumed by pain and humiliation. Humph! Caesar spat on the ground, yanked the halberd free, then leapt back to stand beside Robin. Robin's eyes slid toward him, dry amusement in his voice. You could have demanded 10,000 coins or something useful. But you promised to make me strong enough to shove my halberd up his ass. Caesar muttered, scratching his head. It was an analogy. An analogy. Whatever. Let's go. Robin turned and strode away, Caesar and Peon following a step behind. Just before leaving the arena, Robin stopped. His gaze swept the stunned crowd. I hope my little brother, Caesar Burton, has entertained you all. He laughed loudly, then walked out. The silence deepened. Students, nobles, and even professors sat frozen, shaken not only by the savage act itself, but by the bizarrely casual exchange that followed. Why does such a ruthless beast submit so utterly to his brother? And Caesar's words, "You promised to make me strong," echoed like thunder. Did Robin give him that terrifying white glow? How, when Robin was only at the 5th level? Many left that day vowing never to tread near House 207. And in the corner of the stands, a young woman with sharp brows watched Robin's group leave in silence, her frown carved deep. Big brother, why did you tell me to? Do my best. The spectators' reactions made me uneasy. I fear today's events will not go unnoticed, Caesar said as he walked behind Robin. Don't worry, Robin replied firmly. Everything is under control. But I need you for another urgent task. What is it? Just say the word. Caesar struck his chest with his fist. Take Peon and clean house number 208. Burn the trash, keep the valuables, divide them among yourselves. From now on, I want peace in my house. Ha. Then today we move. You'll have your peace, big brother. I want to see who dares touch us again. They reached the residential area quickly. But when they approached their home, a carriage drawn by mighty horses blocked the way. Uncle Brown stood waiting. Mr. Caesar, Lady Mila requests your presence. Please follow me, Brown announced. Caesar said nothing. Instead, he looked to Robin, waiting. Robin smiled. Lady Mila is our protector. It's only natural to show her respect. Let's go. Peon, you handle house 208 alone. Brown frowned at the unexpected addition, but said nothing. He only sighed and gestured. Very well. Get in the carriage. We leave immediately. The ride took barely 10 minutes. Soon they were ushered into the familiar grand hall. This time, a mature beauty sat at the center, radiant and composed. Caesar Burton, Mila said with a wide smile. When I first saw you, I thought you were a side character. Who would have thought you were the true star? Come, let us remake our relationship. She pointed to the empty seat before her. Before Caesar could move, the doors slammed open. Ha. Mila, looks like you've found us a real gem this time. A towering man strode in, aura pressing down on the hall like a mountain. Mila's frown deepened. Father! It was Galen Bradley, the Duke himself, head of the Bradley family and ruler of the duchy. His gaze swept the room before settling on Caesar. This aura, no ordinary 8th-level cultivator could produce it. Good. Very good. He patted Caesar's shoulder twice, then pointed to the seat beside him. But Caesar didn't move. His eyes went only to Robin. That was the moment Galen truly noticed him. Irritation flared when Robin calmly took the seat instead, while Caesar stood silently behind him. "Who told you to sit down?" the Duke thundered. Robin's smile was unshaken. "Your Grace, you're mistaken. The one you want seated here is me, not my brother." "You? I wanted the young genius, the one hailed as the kingdom's #1 talent." "Is that you?" Galen sneered. "No," Robin said lightly. "But I made him." "What do you mean?" Robin leaned forward. "Let's not waste time. Lady Mila invited us here and you came yourself, not to congratulate Caesar, but to seize what he revealed in the arena. You want the white flame, don't you?" Galen smirked. "Sharp tongue for a weakling. Yes, I want it. But you won't have it. And who are you to tell me what I can or cannot do?" Galen's roar shook the chamber. "Me? Just a mad scientist," Robin said, still smiling. "But not one from the gutter. I am of the Burton family, from the Duchy of Alton." Mila snapped. "Don't you dare play that card. Your family doesn't even know you're here. If your ties were so strong, why did you come begging for shelter?" Galen laughed harshly. "Ha! Threatening me with a family that barely holds an earldom? Do you even grasp the difference between a duke and an earl?" Robin waved her words aside. "More than 1,000 people saw what Caesar did today. His name is already spreading like wildfire. No doubt the Burtons have heard of him by now. And as for why I came here instead of returning home, it's not because of grudges. I simply dislike being at anyone's mercy." "Yet you are at ours now," Mila said coldly. "No, my lady, perhaps hours ago. But not anymore. Not after my greatest creation, Caesar Burton, has shaken the kingdom. What's a duke or an earl? Caesar will become a sage at the very least. Striking us would be a crime against a future powerhouse. A crime against the Duchy of Alton and the Black Sun Kingdom itself. The Burtons may be nothing to you, but what of the Altons?" "You shameless brat," Mila snapped. "Do the Altons even know you? Do you think they'll care if you and your brother vanish today?" Robin's eyes gleamed. "It doesn't matter if they care. It's politics, isn't it? The Altons would use us. If we return home, they'll exploit us. If you harm us, they'll exploit you. Either way, blood is just an excuse. The game is always power. Any move against me now would be a very foolish mistake." For a long moment, silence reigned. Then Galen's eyes narrowed. "So you used us to slip your family's leash. And now you use your family to shield yourself from us." "That's right, Your Grace." Robin's smile widened. "I'm simply balancing the scales." "Are you always this insolent?" The Duke leaned forward, eyes narrowing. He was truly astonished. Was this brat not afraid of him at all? "I'm only telling the truth, Your Grace." Robin's voice was calm, but steady enough to strike deeper than arrogance. "Well, you have fully captured my attention." Galen's tone was sharp, his patience thinning. "You say I cannot move against you, yet you also claim to need me to balance the stakes against your family. How exactly do you plan to achieve this? Do you imagine I'll seat you on my lap, give you 200 gold coins a month, and even risk the Duchy of Alton's ire for nothing? I could just as easily kill you here or deliver you to the Altons in exchange for far greater benefits." "That's what I wanted to hear." Robin's lips curled, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous kind of hope. "Now we can truly talk. I have something you want." "Ha!" The Duke threw his head back, his laughter booming. "What could you, a 13-year-old boy, possibly have that I, a duke, do not? Don't forget, Your Grace. You came here to demand my white candle technique. Do not underestimate me. Underestimating me has its consequences." Robin's voice grew heavier, serious enough that even Mila's brow furrowed. "You're not amusing in the slightest," Galen snapped, irritation rising. "Enough with games. Show me what else you claim to have. I have this. Robin slipped a palm-sized piece of beast hide from his pocket. To the naked eye, it was plain and unremarkable save for a simple flame drawn at its center with the number 6 etched within. The Duke reached for it immediately, his instincts warning him. His eyes widened as he turned it in his hand. The scrap of hide pulsed faintly, exuding a fiery pressure. This isn't normal. What beast did this come from? Oh, that. Robin shrugged casually. Just the hide of a red-horned rabbit. You'll find them in any beast zone, crawling around in the hundreds. Galen's eyes snapped up, fury flashing. Impossible! How can the skin of such a trivial creature release this kind of power? Boy, if you dare try to fool me. Robin chuckled. Hee, Patience. This isn't the moment to be shocked. Lady Mila, do you happen to have a training ground nearby? A large, open space will do. Mila blinked at the odd request, then slowly nodded. Yes, I do. Perfect. Then let's go. Robin rose from his seat, gesturing lightly at the Duke as if inviting him to a game. Very well. Let's see what kind of trick you're hiding. Galen stood and led the way. The training ground stretched 100 square meters behind Mila's estate. It was built for her personal guard. 500 soldiers drilled to elite precision, all of them between levels 6 and 10. For a noble family, such a private force was formidable. Ordinary armies could only dream of producing soldiers above the 3rd or 4th level. Clear the ground at once, Mila commanded. Not a single man disobeyed. In an instant, the troops fell back and lined themselves in 2 silent rows along the edges of the field. The air grew taut with discipline. Robin whistled. Impressive order. Humph, Galen grunted. Enough flattery. Do what you came to do. Haha, very well. But keep your eyes on the hide, Your Grace. Robin pushed a trickle of energy into the rabbit skin. Immediately, the flimsy scrap hardened into something rigid enough to cut like steel. Without ceremony, he tossed it into the center of the field. Every eye followed its arc. Mila, Galen, Brown, the soldiers. Even Caesar leaned forward, curiosity written across his usually stoic face. Then Robin raised his hand and made a simple gesture. Boom! The field erupted. A deafening explosion shook the ground, flames bursting outward. The shockwave pushed several soldiers back despite their level, and a blackened crater now smoldered where the hide had landed. Gasps spread like wildfire. Mila's hands flew to her mouth. Brown's eyes widened. Even Galen froze for a heartbeat. What was that? One commander barked, stunned. How could so much energy be packed into a scrap of rabbit hide? The blast is at least equal to a full force strike from a 6th level cultivator. Another muttered. But those at the 6th level cannot even wield laws in combat. You're right. And yet the destruction is broader, sharper. This is something entirely new. Gods, a single hide could cripple or kill 20 soldiers in one blast. One of the elite captains roared, unable to hide his awe. The Duke himself could not mask his intrigue. His heart thundered in his chest. So, it's true then. You really are the creator of that white candle. But tell me, why would a single piece of hide compare to the value of your law technique? Yes, it is strange, even revolutionary. But the explosion's strength was only that of a 6th level. Hardly worth. His voice cut off, realization striking like lightning. Unless, Robin smirked, satisfied. Unless I can produce more. In bulk. I can manufacture these hides endlessly. Imagine it, Your Grace. Sell them to the spoiled sons of nobles desperate for safety, or arm your soldiers with them and watch your army swell in power. Use them for ambushes, sieges, assassinations. The possibilities are limitless. And no matter what you choose, they will yield far more than anything you could wring from my white candle. The Duke's breath quickened. His eyes gleamed like stars. He saw it. The armies of Bradley armed with living explosives. The coffers of nobles drained dry to purchase such marvels. The power to challenge duchies themselves. His skin prickled with exhilaration. How many can you give me per month? And what's the price? I'll supply you with 100 a month, Robin said smoothly. each at 20 gold coins. That's outrageous, Galen barked. I could buy good slaves for that price. Robin's laugh was sharp. Can you buy a 20-coin slave who could wipe out 20 enemies at once? Tell me where, and I'll buy 100 myself. Think, Duke. With these talismans you can conquer lands and then resell a portion to cover your costs. No matter how you calculate it, you'll never lose. The Duke hesitated, chewing the words. And when the royal family demands answers, what happens when they ask how such items suddenly appeared? Simple. Robin shrugged. Sell them a share. Tell them you discovered an eccentric researcher who wants to stay anonymous, and that you are merely the middleman bringing them to market. Everyone profits. No one complains. Galen studied him, suspicion mingling with respect. What are you, really? Robin laughed lightly. Didn't I already tell you? Just a crazy researcher. You could have lied, Galen pressed. You could have said you had a mysterious master who granted you these treasures. I would have believed you. I might have even tried to use you to build ties with him. Why admit it's your own work? Every eye turned to Robin. Even Mila's gaze sharpened with genuine curiosity. Only Caesar smirked faintly. He already knew the answer. Why? Robin said, voice ringing clear. Would I give credit for my sweat and blood to a ghost I invented? If you're stupid enough to kill me after seeing all this, then I die. That's your loss, not mine. Not just yours, the world's loss. He leaned back and laughed, a wild sound that filled the field. For a moment silence reigned. Then even Galen chuckled despite himself. Mila's lips twitched upward. The soldiers murmured, awe creeping into their voices. This boy's arrogance was boundless, but it was the arrogance of someone who could back it up. Very well, Mila finally said, smirking. What do you call them? We can't just keep saying those strange hides. Can we? Robin tapped his chin thoughtfully. Let's call them talismans. Talisman. Not bad at all. Galen repeated the word slowly, savoring it. His lips curved into a grin. This invention of yours will change the course of future wars. Young man, you've every right to be proud. He even patted Robin lightly on the shoulder. It's only the beginning, Robin replied with a knowing smile. But I do have a request. I hope everything between us remains confidential, at least for the time being. That's normal, Galen nodded. Don't worry, no one will breathe a word. I'll personally ensure it. But tell me, what about your family? What about the Duchy of Alton? I don't want them knocking on my gates and giving me a headache. Robin smirked faintly. That's easy. I'll announce that I'm content staying here in your institution. As long as people see me publicly, healthy and unharmed, my family won't have an excuse to interfere. But, he leaned forward slightly, his tone carrying a veiled warning. I'll also keep cordial ties with my family, just in case you decide to play any tricks on me. The boldness of his words made the room stir. He spoke to the Duke of Bradley as if to an old acquaintance. Ha! Honest to the point of rudeness as always. Galen laughed, shaking his head. So be it. I can accept those terms. And as for Marquis Rufus, don't trouble yourself. I'll speak with him directly and end that little quarrel after what Caesar did to his son. Excellent. Robin rose, then added slyly. One more thing. I expect our allowance raised to 1,000 gold coins per month. I'll need it to continue my research freely. Arg. Fine. Galen gritted his teeth, but agreed. Robin gave a satisfied nod and turned to leave, Caesar following close at his heels. While Galen and the others pondered the implications of what had just transpired, Mila's gaze lingered on Robin's back. He's not an ancient sage, nor some immortal legend. He's just a boy my age, and yet already he's contributed to our armies more than I ever have. Perhaps even more than all my predecessors combined. Big brother, Caesar asked cautiously as they stepped outside. Why did you tell them it was rabbit hide? Won't they try to replicate it? By hides themselves, redraw the flame pattern, and steal your invention? Robin chuckled. That flame drawing? Let them waste their time. It's meaningless, just a random sketch I drew to distract them, and also to mark the type of talisman. What makes it special can't be seen with the naked eye. Invisible? You mean the real pattern is hidden? Could it ever be discovered? Caesar pressed. Perhaps, Robin admitted with a shrug. Maybe the Flame Emperor himself or one of his direct descendants could unravel it if they devoted enough time. But by then, I'd already be several inventions ahead. Hehe. Caesar sighed, relief flooding him. Of course, how foolish to think his brother hadn't already accounted for such things. Back at the institution, Robin found that Peon had already cleaned out House 208. Without hesitation, he ordered, "Caesar, Peon, move in there. That'll be your base from now on. Theo will join you when he emerges from seclusion. As for Zara, she'll stay with me during the day to practice drawing, but she'll return each evening to sleep beside her brother. I want peace and quiet in my house at last." And with that, Robin finally enjoyed some solitude. Seated in the silence, he began to plan his next steps. The events of today had compressed his timeline dramatically. His earlier plan of keeping a low profile was gone, shattered the moment the talismans appeared before the Duke and his commanders. After reviewing his priorities, Robin decided the first order of business was to prepare the month's quota of talismans. To outsiders, the process looked impossibly complex. In truth, it was laughably simple for him. He only needed to inscribe a fragment of the fire pattern, the section responsible for controlled explosions, then weave in a subtle trick derived from his perfect law of fire to hide the pattern within the hide itself. The result? A deadly weapon, finished in minutes. In reality, Robin could have produced 100 talismans in 2 or 3 days. But he deliberately restricted the number he sold. The Duke must remain hungry, eager, addicted. The less he had, the more valuable they would seem. Within days, the story of Caesar Burton spread like wildfire across the duchy, then across the entire kingdom. A boy of 13 years already at the 8th level. A genius who leapt 2 levels to defeat a 10th level noble on the stage with ease. The age, the speed of cultivation, the sheer combat power. Together, they built an aura of mystery and prestige around Caesar. He wasn't merely a prodigy. He was the greatest genius of the past 2 centuries. Greater even than Lady Mila Bradley. And when news spread that Caesar had been nothing but a mortal only 18 months ago, his legend grew into myth. Rumors multiplied like sparks from a fire. In taverns, academies, and noble courts, wild tales sprang up. I heard Caesar Burton's mother was a goddess and his father a demon. Rubbish. Everyone knows his mother carried him for 5 years in her womb and fed him beast blood instead of milk. No, you're both wrong. He was trained by an ancient hermit who descended from the heavens. Laughter, speculation, and awe filled the kingdom. Yet none of the storytellers knew that, at that very moment, the so-called legend was snoring in House 208, drooling on his pillow. But in the Duchy of Alton, the name, Burton, stirred other memories. Wait, Burton? Did you say Burton? One man asked sharply, his voice cutting through the chatter. Yes, brother, came the reply. A youth named Caesar Burton. Legendary. They say when a 10th level noble provoked him, he coolly set the duel for 1 year later. And when the day came, he crushed him. Defeated him brutally. And then, ha, shoved an iron staff right up his ass in front of the entire crowd. The table roared with laughter and applause. But the man who had asked for the name did not laugh. He slipped away silently, heart pounding. That man's name was Jewel Burton. And the news he had just heard was too great to ignore. This was something the elders of the Burton family must hear, immediately.